Okay, we're live, and hopefully we've resolved all my microphone issues, at least temporarily. I've decided to use this type of format because my mic seems to work with this. However, when I use my OBS, it is not working. It's picking up background noise, like the not so much background noise, but the computer noise, internal noise. So if anybody knows how to solve that, let me know. I've tried all the ID10T stuff. All the typical things that any person knows about computers would try. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's just every time I record anything using AudioCity or OBS, I get the internal computer noise, hum and feedback. It sounds like the listen is on, but it's not. But anyways, you guys don't want to hear my computer problems. Today we got Genetically Modified Skeptic. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. His name's Drew, by the way, which is not doxing. I mean, I can use his first name. But he's been on Godless Engineers channel and a few other, and he's has a new channel, and Deflating Atheism, who we all know and love, had an hour-long video responding to his 5-minute video. And I thought it'd be really interesting to actually kind of go over it because we had talked about it in the Great Debate community the other day with Jade and a few other people and Ozzy, and everybody basically cringed when they watched this video. It was just that bad. But anyways, Drew, welcome to the Great Debate community.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
Look at a little background on yourself. I didn't know your background actually until like recently. Godless Engineers had a video with you, and I didn't watch it, but I kind of looked at the preview. But you were an ex-Young Earth creationist?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, still the majority of my life I've been a young Earth creationist. Believing in things that aren't nonsense is kind of new to me. So.
And how long have you been getting out? And before we start to get into like the video, by the way, if anybody can come in and actually can play this video for us, like Drag, I know Drag's moving, or somebody else who has experience, that'd be great. But if not, I did take notes on it. But yeah, so I mean, you actually just left it and said, I just don't believe this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was a somewhat gradual process. You know, it wasn't an immediate thing, but yeah, I was raised Christian fundamentalist, and that came along with young Earth creationism. And so I believed that until I would say, I mean, young Earth creationism until about sophomore year of college, and then didn't leave just creationism. Like I was just an old Earth creationist after that until after college, basically, or around the time of graduation. I started really questioning that. So yeah.
Do you think it was it was a gradual process, but do you think that it was like a domino effect?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's something that I say in the video that I did with Godless Engineer, is that it was a domino effect. I mean, the dominoes really fell pretty slow at the beginning. You know, it took a couple of years in between old Earth creationist and becoming a young or old Earth creationist and actually questioning anything else regarding Christianity. But after those couple of years, yeah, dominoes fell a lot quicker.
So I've told people before, I'm not really that interested if people lose faith. That's not my concern. My concern is just basically getting correct information out there, people being scientific, people understanding things like the theory of evolution, Big Bang cosmology. And I've noticed, though, several dozen people in the Great Debate community have left theism because once they find out that the lies they were told about young Earth creationism, it just was a domino effect. They just like, well, if this isn't true, then what else have I been told that isn't true?
Yeah, I think they lose that trust. I mean, one of the issues with fundamentalism and how it can, if you can overcome one thing, you can overcome a lot with it, is that basically with certain kinds of fundamentalism, including the type that I was brought up in, it's just kind of you believe all of this. You have to accept all of this. All of it is perfect. You know, we don't interpret anything as a metaphor. Everything's literal, and there are no errors. So if you ever found one error, then we would know that it's not the word of God, because God inherently can't make any errors. So yeah, if you find one little hole in it, you should be an atheist, is basically what I was taught in like kind of Sunday school and like youth group growing up. And I actually had to overcome that, because I don't think that you should believe the Bible if there's errors in it. Like, you shouldn't think that it's the inherent word of God, but that's not a good reason to just be an atheist or be a non-theist outright. Just because one thing has an error in it doesn't mean that all religions are inherently wrong or God's not real or something like that. But yeah, dominoes do fall really, really quickly for a lot of fundamentalists that start having just one question that they can't get away from.
No, I totally agree with you on that. I think that obviously there's been scribal errors in the Bible. There's definitely other well, historical, maybe things in the Bible that I don't think actually happened. Obviously, all the things relating to Noah's Ark and all that, allegorical or metaphorical at best. But yeah, no, I think that if there's some actual errors in the Bible, I'm okay with that from a theistic point of view. If I wanted to bring out my theist side, I can see, man, anything goes through man's hand is corrupted, and if God does exist and He had this big old plan, His word would get corrupted, and that would probably be part of His plan. But do I think that probably would happen? Probably not. But it's not a no go. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is still faulty logic to find one error and think that everything needs to be completely thrown out in any religion or in all of Christianity necessarily.
Correct. Unless they say, there are some people that believe that's so inerrant that everything has to be perfect in the Bible, and we obviously know that cannot be.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was brought up to believe, and it had some effect on the way that I came out. At least I think it had a very large effect in the expediency of questioning once I started questioning some of the big things, but not necessarily didn't have a profound effect on what my final conclusion was, because I had to get away from that first and try to be reasonable. And I hopefully, overcame that before I actually took on any other label other than just Christian or I don't know.
Well, let's find out actually, because BJ Price actually asked a question in the live chat that actually is about the topic of the Hangout. Kind of, he says, "Ask if he is less arrogant now than when he was as a young Earth creationist." Sort of joking, but not. And you know what? That's actually the topic of the Hangout: arrogance, and atheism. Believe it or not.
Yep.
So, all right. So, I mean, that's a good question. Are you more
question.
arrogant now or less arrogant? Because I watched your video and I know the answer, but.
Oh, I mean, well, I feel that I probably am. I think that I could probably evidence that. When I was a Christian, I actually sometimes was looked down upon by mainly like family, because I didn't go around trying to spread it, because I kind of thought that it was a dick move basically to try to go around and enforce anything on anyone. And I didn't have great reasons. I didn't have like the resources to be able to debate somebody I guess I didn't have resources to my own satisfaction, to be able to go out and debate anybody. And I do that. I do go and I will, debate with people occasionally now. But really, one of the big things is in the end, will admit to things that I don't know beforehand. And when I was just a Christian, I would say, yeah, like, I do know like a lot of the answers. Yeah, I'll say, oh, I don't know that right now, but I could just look in this book that was written for me, and I can tell you what that answer is. And you can't give me a question that I can't answer at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, it'll take time. I don't personally necessarily know it, but I'm on the side of reason. I'm, on the side of history that, yeah, I do have a lot of answers. And at the end of the day, if you ask me, where the universe came from, I'm going to have a really good answer for you. And if you deny it, well, that's too bad for you, because, you're completely deluded. And I could never help you. I could never try to reason with you past that. And now I'll say, yeah, like I have no idea how the Big Bang necessarily started. I mean, I can read, a universe from nothing. I can also read all the papers basically that Krauss based that on. And I'm still going to just have an idea, a good, well-evidenced idea of how things maybe came into being. But, before time existed, I can't tell you anything. And I also can't tell you definitively, yeah, if there is some kind of supreme being. And beforehand, I would have been like, yeah. And you're a douchebag for even questioning whether or not there is a supreme being. I mean, like, he loves you, so stop questioning him. That's so horrible. Why would you ever do that? So I'm not going to jump down someone's throat for having a different opinion than me. And then I'm also, I'm going to just admit to things that I don't know. There's probably going to be things I don't know in this, and I'll just say, I don't know. I mean, I'll try to figure out the answer, but I can't promise you I don't have all the answers, and nobody does. So.
One of the things that irks me with certain theists in the, I should say the extended Great Faith community, like, for example, deflating atheism or escaping atheism, they insert this epistemic uncertainty as a reason to posit God. And it definitively the God of the gaps argument. And they do this on a regular basis. They did it with you in certain ways. They had criticized you for admitting you don't know all the answers. Nobody does. I think that's kind of ubiquitous. Anybody who says they have all the answers is clearly having some kind of mental issue, because we just don't know. There's a lot of epistemic uncertainty, but that doesn't mean that they're any better off by positing a God than somebody who doesn't believe in a God. I don't understand why they think that their explanation, which is not really an explanation, it's just a conjecture, is required for you to have any kind of meaning in your life. Because another thing they brought up, that you give your own life meaning, and who are you to do that? But we'll get into that a little bit more. But do you see that a lot with theists, though? Do you notice the same thing, that they always basically boils down to, well, you know what, you're an atheist, you don't know, ergo you should be a theist?
Yeah. It's kind of like when I came out to my parents, for example, which was not that long ago. Yeah, one of the things was, well, why would you like call yourself an atheist if you are open to it? You know, if you're open to other information, why would you say, I'm an atheist, I know there's no God? I'm like, I don't say that. I'm just as much of an agnostic, I feel like. I mean, and yeah, I've talked with you just a little bit about different definitions of atheist and definitions of agnostic, but I do define myself as an agnostic atheist. I don't know all the answers, but what I call myself is really provisional. I'm taking a provisional stance or non-stance. You know, I don't know things, and I can call myself an atheist in, you know, and that doesn't contradict the way that I go about gathering information, basically. But yeah, I mean, I hear that from people, like a few people that I've grown up with. I hear that from people in my comment sections all the time, and heard that from my own parents. It's pretty common. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop arguing against it. I mean, there's still people that believe something like that. I'm still going to keep going after it.
I think it's a really hard burden of justification for a person to say they know one way or another. Now, there are certain types of gods I'll say I know don't exist. I know if you say God exists and he created the earth 7,000 years ago, if that is a contingent thing, if the age of the earth is contingent on God being what you're saying that he is, yeah, that God does not exist then. Right? Because if it's not 7,000 years, that God cannot be. So I can say certain gods don't exist, but I agree with you. I think it's really hard for anybody to say, I know with certainty that any God doesn't exist. Now they can, but I think they're in the same boat of a theist saying, you know what, I know for a fact God exists. I think they're both equally wanting to think they know, but I don't think they actually do. Do it make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I mean, you can't prove a negative, basically. I mean, like, theists say you can't, you know, they'll do the whole circle thing, like this is your knowledge and this bigger circle is all the knowledge. Yeah,
so
like, yes, you can't go and search every corner of the universe, every corner of the, you know, supernatural astral plane or something like that, if they posit something like that. Yeah, you can't go outside of yourself to actually explore that. So you don't know, but yeah, that doesn't mean
astral plane. I'm sorry, I tuned out for a second. I used to believe in some woo stuff like 4, 5 something years ago for like a couple of years. What's happening?
Oh, I was just using that as a descriptor there. I'm using it to mean, and maybe it doesn't really mean this, but just any kind of supernatural realm. I'm just using astral plane to illustrate that a little bit.
That would be sufficient, I would say.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying you can't search all of that. And so
right.
you can't know. And if atheists say, like, I originally, when I very first started my channel, I had a few people say on my very first videos, like, I'm a Gnostic atheist. Like, I know there are no gods for sure. And I think that positing that is just as unreasonable. Maybe not in practice and living out your life. You're not going to be jumping to as many conclusions about, you know, God doesn't exist, so therefore this. You can exist in the natural realm and not have that affect your position in some ways, I think. But yeah, I would argue with somebody who would say, I know that there are no gods and there is absolutely nothing supernatural. but I don't feel like I don't have a good argument against someone who says, I don't see any evidence right now, and so I just don't have a reason to live my life as if there is something. I kind of have to take the null position.
I think you're accessing what they call the Akashic records, the ethereal records that exist in the universe. That has all the knowledge of man and any other entity in the entire universe that has ever lived or ever will live. It's called the Akashic records. Have you heard of that?
Okay. No, I haven't heard that term, but that's really interesting.
It's
I think that came from Hinduism or Buddhism. It's like Hindu, Eastern woo.
Yeah. Yeah,
that sounds about right. Because I mean, a lot of Eastern religion, I mean, especially like Hinduism and certain aspects of Buddhism, they say that consciousness isn't an emergent property; it's a fundamental property of the universe. So that would make sense that knowledge would exist in something outside of a mind or something in their ideology.
Yeah, within the context of that, yeah.
Before I forget, Wildheart is going to put your link to your channel in the live chat, and as soon as you do that, I'll put it in the video description. I totally spaced that. My fault. My bad. I always put so. If you have, he just did it right now. So if you haven't subscribed to Genetically Modified Skeptic yet, go do it now. I'm actually putting the link in. You got pretty good subscribers, 2243.
In the live chat, someone named Christina Blackfeather said Akashic Records came from New Age. See, what I thought came from New Age religion, which was the kind of stuff that I believed in, was that there wasn't an Akashic record, but rather you had some kind of higher self that you were constantly giving information back to every time you died before you reincarnated or something like that. I thought it was more like a personal Akashic record was the New Age thing.
Yeah, I thought there was some original kind of thing that was prior to the New Age of Aquarian type stuff, but I could be wrong.
That kind of plays.
That'd be
along
interesting, at least.
I've never believed in any gods, but I had an interesting experience with believing in some woo stuff for a couple of years.
I think everybody goes.
I did a lot of mushrooms. I did a lot of mushrooms. Me too.
Yeah, not to get
went
too
out
much
with a woman. Yeah, I went out
good.
with a woman. She was a Reiki practitioner, so she would clean my chakras all the time.
Oh God, I've known a few of those, and they're really into that Reiki cleansing stuff.
For real, and the room always nice. It's always peaceful, but she's crazy as fuck though.
I was gonna ask you if you ever use that to your advantage, but I mean, they don't really touch you during that, So I feel like
no, they just wave their hands over you, like
Oh no, they can. You just tell her you want the happy ending chakra cleanse.
Yeah, but they charge you for it. It's like, okay, for $100, I'll stand over there and just wave my fingers over you and go, okay, I'm massaging you.
No, there's a way. It's in the wrist, Steve. It's in the wrist. You have to do. It's like this. It's like this. You got to go like this and pick up the bad stuff and throw it away.
Oh God!
It's
like those people that say for like for like $1, $10 or whatever, they'll send positive energy your way.
Yeah,
I'll do that too. Give me a $2 super chat. I will send you positive energy right here, right now. Okay, I'm telling you right now, it'll be
like the rice
for your
bowl. Like the rice bowl experiment, where you're supposed to like put rice in 2 jars and talk dirty to one. And talk nice to the other, and the dirty one's supposed to be all crappy looking.
What kind of experiment?
Wait, are you talking about the Masaru Emoto experiments? One of the couple things that he's supposedly done that confirms some woo crap.
Yeah, well, that's the one he was doing. Things are plants too, and he believes in.
Plants
isn't he the one that still plants? Yeah, and that water has memory.
Just for a quick recap of what he's talking about with the rice, the idea is that if you put rice into separate jars and you say something nice to rice in one jar, it'll have a different effect from ignoring one jar and saying something mean to another jar. Supposedly, ignoring the jar has the worst effects.
I don't believe it.
Sorry. And the
I don't believe that either. I couldn't ever wait that long. I'd have to eat it.
So anyways, did anybody here watch the video that we're going to be talking about, which by the way we probably won't be able to show because nobody can come in here and show it seems, but did anybody watch
reminder that you don't want the technical skills to play the video through the Hangout?
Yeah, I think I know Drag's able to do it. If anybody else knows how to play a video in the Hangout, I don't have mine set up that way, so but we kind of discussed a little bit though. What Deflating Atheism, Rob, was saying was basically that atheists are arrogant, and it was more than just a general statement. I think he was saying overall, like every atheist, if you're an atheist, you're arrogant. Is that kind of what I was gathering from him?
I mean, there were a lot of generalizations made. I'm not sure if he specifically ever made that statement, but I think that there's probably implication there, which is a little bit ironic because at the beginning they clarified, yeah, like people are arrogant, ideologies are not arrogant. But then at the end of the video, they're like, yeah, this ideology is so arrogant. So yeah, it kind of contradicts them. They also at one point, one of them calls me. I don't know their first names, but
Max and Rob.
Okay, so which one is which?
Max is escaping atheism.
Okay. So yeah, Max,
very arrogant guy.
Max at one point says, "Well, I do think that does make him humble." And then by the end of the video, he's like, it's like finger waving, and it's like, it's great. And this is not a hopefully an ad hominem, you know, because I just thought it was funny. I don't mean to insult him by saying this, but it was very like dad-like. Like you're really arrogant, young man.
Well, he mentioned your age. Well, he said when you get older. How many times did he say that? And by the way, I only watched the first 40 minutes. About the last 20, I don't think I watched the rest. I kind of had my fill, and I wanted to go strangle babies. I couldn't take it any longer. I had requested other people watch it for me, the rest of it, so I didn't have to. It was just so bad.
I gotcha.
You know, but
yeah,
you know,
it annoyed me.
Did you watch it?
I started to, but like you, I couldn't finish.
A lot of people couldn't finish. Jade had enough. Ozzy was just like, I think it was Ozzy who was watching it. But you know, okay. Deflating Atheism kept on saying, look at atheism is just full of arrogant people. Now, I understand there are some arrogant atheists out there, and they do think they're a little bit more superior because what reasons? I have no idea why. I don't get not believing in God makes you any more superior than anybody else.
And Christians aren't.
Well, that's my point. It's nowhere near what you find. Okay, I mean, look how many people I deal with, right? Whenever you go to any of the web pages, like on Kent, we got background noise. Who's that? Whenever you go to any of these web pages like Kent Hovind or something like that, his Hovenites are the most arrogant people I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like, oh, all science is wrong. Let me explain to you why you're wrong, Steve. And they give no argument, no evidence, nothing to support their case. That's pure arrogance.
I have to make a confession here. So my parents realized when I was a teenager that I really, really liked science and that I just had a knack for it. And so they decided to, I don't know if it was like a nip it in the bud type thing or if it was actually trying to encourage my curiosity. But I watched everything that Kent Hovind had ever done as a kid, and he was like legitimately my hero. Like I thought he was so amazing. I fell for all of it. I thought it was so great. By the time I was in college, I realized that a lot of the stuff that he was saying weren't very good arguments, but I didn't think that his evidence was actually wrong because I'd never been exposed to anything different. But yeah, so I just have to get that out of the way.
That's good that you got out, though. That's good that you had the frame of mind and, you know, the know-it-all to get out.
You've been forgiven, my child. You've been forgiven.
Yeah. A lot of people, they're not so lucky. A lot of people, they're not so lucky. That gets in them, and those claws get in, and you can't let go of such a dogma like that. So.
By the way, do we do Game Phone? I don't recognize the name, but Game Phone? You got a mic? You're new. Yes, there's 800 people now in the Great Debate community. 800 people, and I still recognize new names. What does that tell you?
That's crazy. I remember when I was like 495th, I think.
Game Phone, are you there? I don't know who this person is. Yeah.
Get ready for the porn.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know who they are. So sorry, I can't take any chance.
No problem with that.
Nuke it in the bud, Steve. Nuke it in the bud.
Anyways, so back to the topic at hand. When you were a Hovenite, per se, I mean, did you actually argue these things with people? Did you actually give the same shitty-ass arguments that the Hovenites are giving now?
Yeah, especially his argument of, atheism in the end and evolutionism, Darwinism. It's a belief system. It's a dangerous religion that's like a cult, and it is a religion, which I didn't think actually invalidated my position. It only invalidated theirs because they're a religion, but religion is bad if they're religious, but not if I'm religious.
So some double think going on there.
Oh yeah, big time. And I
never understood that.
Yeah, it's just pejoratives.
I I used to be really into skating, and I mean, like, to the point where I don't know if you guys ever heard like Woodward Skate Camp, where like all the pros would go, and they're like these 100-acre skate parks, and I did competitions and stuff. And I was on all these like rollerblading type forums, and yes, I was an aggressive skater slash rollerblader. So you guys can either tease me about that or think that's cool, But if you think that's cool, then people will inevitably call you a fruit
Well,
hater.
let me ask you this:
But,
do you know how old Tony Hawk is?
Oh God, I mean, probably older than my dad.
He's
probably better
50.
off. You're probably better off. You're probably better off than me, Drew, considering how little exercise I really get.
But
so don't worry about me mocking you.
Yeah, I play Tony Hawk. No.
Oh yeah, I did too, for sure. So in these rollerblading forums, basically, which was a really tight-knit community because a lot of skateboarders don't like rollerbladers, so we all banded together. It was kind of my first underground social group, and people in the forums would be like, "So tell me more about yourself," like to just random people, like just in threads, like, "What are your beliefs? What's your religion? Whatever." And most people would say that, "Oh, hey, Holy Kool-Aid's on. What's up?"
Hey, Thomas. Hey, Holy. You've been a busy little beaver lately, Holy Kool-Aid.
I don't know if he's tuned in quite
yet. Can you hear us? You might want to do sign language to him because maybe he can't hear us.
I want you to finish the story though. I was like into it.
But
I don't think he can hear us.
So basically, we would talk about like what our different beliefs were, and most people would say that they were either just kind of like this religious moderate, or that they weren't like super religious. These were like mostly 20-something-year-old guys. And so they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not really super religious, but yeah, I accept evolution." And one person said, "Well, I accept evolution because it's true and it's proven." And I guess like 16-year-old me just went off and was like, "Oh my God, proven? It's just a theory." And
it's a Pavlovian response, isn't it? I mean, it really is. And Hovind and his Hovenites, they're so conditioned to throw that out there, and it's so wrong too. Just by first of all, no theory is ever proven, but for them to say it's just a theory, well, they don't seem to understand that clearly a theory is a demonstrated model that has predictive abilities. That's shown to work. It's a well substantiated body of evidence.
You put too many syllables in that. That's why you put too much syllables in an answer, and they sometimes get a little confused.
Hey,
well,
Cooley,
said that
HK, are you there? Can you hear us now? Wave or something.
I can hear you guys.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
I'd like to add a quick addendum. It does depend on what you mean by proof, either in the mathematical sense or in the legal sense of as Aaron Ra quotes, or as I'm quoting from Aaron Ra, because that's where I learned this exact wording: an overwhelming preponderance of evidence.
Yeah, I avoid the word proof. Science it does not prove anything. I understand people use the word colloquially, and I understand what they mean by it, but I'm old-fashioned. I think that we shouldn't use the word proof.
Yeah, I typically avoid it myself, and I mean that guy said that. I flipped out, but he explained to me, like a theory is something that's extremely well evidenced, and like Holy Kool-Aid and Rationality Rules recently put out there, saying a theory is actually the highest compliment to this predictive model, basically, that someone cooks up based on evidence. And so this guy explains this to me, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, well, it's not a scientific law, and that, which is something that Thomas also addressed.
And we just cringe, go, oh.
And I tell him, basically, you believe, or I believe in the beginning God, and quoting Kent Hovind here, you believe in the beginning dirt. And
if they're using the scientific law argument, please tell me they're also demanding evidences.
No one. I don't think anybody that's saying scientific law, making that kind of argument, really, at the end of the day, realizes that evidence is even something that is particularly important to forming your belief system.
HK, you were going to say something? You're muted. Yep, I have to unmute. Nope, still muted.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we
I
go.
was messing with my mic settings.
Okay.
It's a new mic. It's supposed to pick up a lot less background noise.
Where are you at?
But
Dude, are you like out on the street
I'm
processing or something?
No, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, and getting ready. But I'm just doing the round of a bunch of different podcasts. Got about 5 coming up this week and next.
Yeah, like I said, you're been busy. You've been popular. People were like wanting to actually talk to you and shit.
Wait, you're in Tulsa?
Yeah, I'm in the Tulsa area.
I've got friends who live near Tulsa.
Cool.
Yeah,
there's a pretty big atheist community here, ACT. But I wanted to ask.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've been to Tulsa a few times, hanging out with some friends down there. Pretty nice area. Good folks. Every once in a while, had some good times hanging out. So that's all I wanted to say.
Nice. Yeah, so I wanted to ask GM Skeptic, were you taught the whole perspective of evolution where, it goes from hypothesis to theory to law and that it's a gradient, or was that just an argument that you encountered?
No, I was taught just in preliminary, my primary science classes in, I don't know, like 4th, 5th grade. I was taught, like it goes from hypothesis theory to law, and law is the thing that is the highest standard. That's the thing that you have to meet. That's the thing that like gravity, like the law of gravity, like has reached, or the law of like the laws of thermodynamics. But there's no law of evolution. So yeah, I was taught that definitely.
Well, but how do they explain the fact that gravity is both a theory and a law? You have like Newton's universal law of gravity, and then you also have the theory of gravity that encompasses it.
I mean, I think that it's pretty close to verbatim. When I've said the exact same thing you just said to people who are using that the argument, their counter argument. No, it's not. That's about what I get. I don't think that a lot of people who necessarily are accepting that idea or arguing that, they're not really aware of the scientific process. They don't necessarily know how to read like peer-reviewed literature. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to make generalizations, but I have not encountered someone who actually understood how the scientific process works, and they don't know the nomenclature. And so, I haven't really had any kind of substantial argument against that.
What's funny is you can actually show people, how it actually works. And a hypothesis can become a theory. That is true, though. Most of them are just incorporating into existing ones, but obviously they don't become laws. A law is usually an empirical relationship, like F equals GM1 M2 divided by R squared. But that's incorporated into the theory of gravity, which includes both general relativity and Newtonian. But you can show them all this, right? You can go to all these different sources, and they'll say, "Oh, all that's wrong." In lieu of what? What are you using as a reference if you're not using every scientific source that shows you how it really works?
Well, I mean, when you have the source of information in the world, then why would you seriously consider anything else? I mean, in light of what? Yeah, I mean, the ultimate source of truth in the universe, which is your holy text.
Well, they want to rewrite these things. They want to rewrite the scientific methodology. I mean, and they do in their own ways. I mean, look how many times people still say things like historical observation.
Yeah. Everyone wants the right answer, Everyone wants the right answer. No one wants to be wrong, especially when it comes to something so deep as their beliefs. Oh, if you find out one of your beliefs that you've lived on and it's part of your life is wrong, whoa, that's going to open your eyes to something. So
yeah, I have experienced that. I have experienced, and I made this point in my last video. I have experienced, and a lot of atheists have experienced having something so fundamental and so important to them just be totally shattered, and they had to change the way that they act, the way that they think. I mean, just their basics of everyday life tend to change after just having their worldview shattered. And this is something that I've heard a lot of people, and man, regardless of whether Thomas was here, I feel like I'd be saying this. This is something that I hear a lot of atheists saying, and Thomas has said in several of his videos that he loves truth, and if something is going to come up that's going to shatter his worldview again, yeah, that's what he's going to go ahead and follow. It's what he's going to chase. Once you've had that shattered one time, you realize you do and you don't want it to happen again, in the way that you want to make sure that you are going to be correct. You don't want to actually irrationally base your life around something. But
yeah, and you learn something too. You know, you're learning like a whole. This is another step in my growing as a human. You know, I've dealt with this, and now I'm moving on to the next level. You know,
And if I may, though, relating to a little bit to the topic here, when Deflating Atheists talk about how atheists are arrogant, Thomas seems like one of the most least arrogant people on the circuit. I mean, he's a pretty humble guy from what I've seen. I've known him for a few months now. I've watched his videos. I don't see any arrogance there. He's mild-mannered. He doesn't get into shouting matches. He doesn't do the normal, hey, fuck you, you're an idiot kind of shit. I do. I admit that. But he's more the mainstream. So I don't see how people can say, oh, well, if you're an atheist, you're arrogant. That he's a perfect example of no, not necessarily so.
Well, when you're raised by missionaries like me and him, then yeah. That's how it goes.
I think one thing that I've found frustrating in looking at the so-called skeptic community, and this is it doesn't matter what the political spectrum you're on. There's this assumption that the second that you figure out whether or not a God exists, all of a sudden you have all the answers. And just because you know how to think skeptically doesn't mean that you apply that skepticism towards all areas of life. And I've been I've had egg on my face. I've had really weird theories and ideas that had no basis in evidence whatsoever, in years past. And in order to try to avoid some of those mistakes, I think the best approach is to be humble, so that you're willing to look at both sides. You're willing to I'll watch all kinds of stuff from both the far left and the far right, and try to kind of get in that, as well as from the middle, and try to get a better perspective on on things that I don't necessarily know all the answers to.
I think as you go through life, you do change your beliefs a lot. I mean, I can tell you right here now, in the last 3 or 4 years since been on YouTube and the Great Debate community, I've formulated positions that I have never been exposed to prior to learning about philosophy, a little bit about philosophy. Conceptual things like like moral realism and ontological arguments. I had no idea about any of them, right?
Me too, exactly. I was thinking about that today, actually, Steve. I was thinking about it today, like, for 3 years ago, like, I'm a completely different person from what I am now. Not even 3 years ago, a year. I've only been with you guys for a year. It's hanging around people that are like-minded, or how you want to, think. Eyes wide open, shut, whatever. But yeah, I've learned all kinds of big syllable words and what they mean. It's great.
The funny thing, Steve, is that you were talking earlier about how you can sometimes kind of lose it and go off on these heated moments and stuff.
I do. And
even still, when I put out on evolution, there was one of the comments was talking about some complicated like bones and whatnot. You jump immediately just off the top of your head. But you're always quick to, even though you know a great deal about a lot of this, you've immersed in it for a long time and surrounding yourself with people who are experts in various fields, you're still quick to say, I'm not an expert, or I'm not, I don't have a PhD in this, or, and you'll defer to other people. And I think that's something that, I wish that we saw more with, theists who, when they go up against physicists in debates, and they're debating physics, or the...
and I'm happy to do that too. I'm happy to admit that. A matter of fact, one of the things that I think makes a person intelligent is when they recognize that you should have more people around you that are smarter than you, because that's the only way you're going to ever learn anything. If you don't want to be around people that are smarter than you, then I don't think you're a very intelligent person. I mean, who wants to surround themselves just by everybody who's dumb? I wouldn't. Why would you want to do that? You would never glean anything from them.
What's the quote? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
It feels so good, though.
Well, in a room of 10 people, though, obviously.
I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room, so I must be doing something right.
Yeah, if you don't know, what's the other side? If you don't know who the dumbest person in the room is, probably you.
Don't let Landon hear that expression, though. He'll never come into your chats again. Then.
Landon Knoll?
Yeah. Well, he'd be the smartest person in pretty much every room, though, I guess.
You know what? He
G-Man.
really actually is. I mean, we have a lot of smart people, but I got to tell you, Landon is freaking really. You guys don't even know how smart that guy really is.
I should talk to him. I'm in the process of trying to get into college to do physics stuff.
Oh well, he pops in quite frequently. Somebody could message him right now. He might pop in.
I love to geek out about, or not geek out, but sit there patiently listening to other people geek out about math. I'm only at a complete high school level.
Well, his level is way beyond even the math. We have a lot of mathematician people in the Great Debate, and I think his level is even beyond theirs. He has a very niche specialty dealing with prime numbers. But
prime numbers aren't like not niche at all. Like a lot of algebra people do with that.
Finding
like,
the highest. But he has 8 world records. Come on, I mean.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So he has a very specialized niche in getting world records. That's what he does. So let me ask you, Thomas. Obviously you didn't watch the video that we were kind of talking about. I'm sure, but you know who Deflating Atheism is, right?
Hang on. Sorry, there's a tiny bit of lag when I go to unmute, but I don't want to pick up all the background noise around me here. I wasn't really aware of. I'd heard the name before, but it's such a small channel, isn't it? Like I saw like 700 subscribers on that video.
It's a small channel. The only reason he's getting noted is because his arguments are just so bad.
Okay.
Which the way it is. Let's be realistic. On YouTube, there's a couple of different ways to actually get noticed and get a little bit of subscribers. Either you're just really an idiot, or people find you interesting. That's it.
You can be both. I mean,
or you can be both. That's true. I guess
it's like the Rebecca Black effect.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm somewhere in between those things.
But one of the arguments he was using the other day, he was basically saying that all atheists are arrogant, and then he was just telling Drew here that he didn't seem arrogant. I mean, they actually complimented you at the initial part, saying, "Well, you seem pretty mellow, right?" There's something to that regard.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to that on my way home from work that night, and it was like, oh well. I think we all might get along, but it didn't work out. I don't think I'm going to call them later.
Probably not. I mean, well, what really bothers me is that they don't understand anything about atheism. And yes, we know in the Great Debate community the little nuances with, is atheism a lack of belief or an actual statement of I believe God doesn't exist. But it's still, one thing is ubiquitous among all atheists is they understand it deals with a God claim. I don't think any atheist would disagree with that. And so, but they were trying to say that you were talking about naturalism, and they're literally saying, well, if you're an atheist, quote unquote, there's logical conclusions to be made that if you're an atheist, you don't believe in an afterlife. Well, not necessarily so. There are atheistic religions that do. Jainism believes the soul is eternal, right? So I don't know. They throw all this other shit attached to atheism, and that's what I think bugs me the most, because atheism is not a freaking worldview. It can never be a worldview. It is a single position on a single topic that can be incorporated into a worldview. Did you catch that though when they were talking about that, Drew?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, I won't necessarily say in their defense, because they do say they've been around the block plenty of times, and I think they should know this, that they've really been around the block. It's not a worldview. I could have done better to define and say, yeah, this is not a worldview. I am talking about my beliefs here. And so, yeah, I could have clarified that, but it's something that I think they probably could have understood. And then I also say in other videos of mine, yeah, atheism isn't a worldview. If I'm going to say that I have any worldview, I'd probably say it's that of secular humanism. But yeah, atheism isn't the end all be all. It's just one small aspect.
Well, of course, when it comes to this stuff, I mean, how often have you seen somebody try and prove God by starting out trying to disprove evolution or disprove the Big Bang theory? That they go to various different complete non sequiturs unrelated to atheism. And
well, then that's true, because they think that if they can disprove some other position, it gives evidence to their own, which obviously does not work that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that ironically a lot of I don't know, like anti-skeptics, or as an anti-skeptic, they're just a skeptic of a skeptic, which is still a skeptic. So anyway, people who are against people like Armored Skeptic will say, yeah, like you can't build evidence for your worldview by tearing mine down. And skeptics are like, yeah, I know. I'm not trying to build a worldview. I'm just trying to say this isn't legitimate. Like what you're saying is not legitimate. And yet, you're right. I mean, Christians or just, I mean, really anybody who gets into the debate here, a lot of the time, if they're coming from a theist position, yeah, they will say that tearing down that worldview does, or that idea or any of these proofs, it is evidence for their own. And that's kind of a God of the gaps thing. It's like, well, if this doesn't make sense, then mine does make sense. Yeah, so.
Yeah, if I can show somebody that young Earth creationism is wrong, and again, we've gone through Hovind's handbook of creationism like so many times, showing why each argument is flawed. That doesn't mean evolution is a fact. It doesn't have anything to do with evolution or Big Bang cosmology. It's just showing that what he's saying is wrong. And for them to try to say, well, evolution is wrong, but this, and this. By the way, the funniest debates and discussions I've ever had are people trying to disprove things like evolution and Big Bang cosmology, because you always find that almost every single time they don't even understand the basics of it. They just don't. They have so many misconceptions. And where do you go with some people that are so fundamentally flawed that they're not even talking about the topic in any real sense, right? They're not like Hugh Ross, who actually does understand Big Bang cosmology, right?
Yeah, I mean, is that a rhetorical question, or is that something that you're actually asking
slightly
me?
Rhetorical, but I mean, still, I mean, it's just it's so ubiquitous among young Earth creationists on the lower echelons, right? The what I like to call the fruit in the ground. In fact, years ago, I actually had a series called "Fruit in the Ground Creationist." They don't even know what they don't even know.
Well, you see, within the field of science, you got 6 types of evolution. You got your cosmic evolution. That's where one element becomes another. And I'm not going to go through all of Kent Hovind's shit, but I think you get where I'm going.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is if he could even call them evolution if he wants. It's only equivocation if he uses evolution in an argument the same, differently. But he's actually showing that there is something called chemical evolution. That is true. There is molecular evolution, but you cannot relate that to biological evolution. They're distinctly different things. All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, dozens of apologists, I would say, and just like armchair apologists that will talk about how unlikely it is that the Earth is in the habitable zone, basically, of the sun, or something like that. And then they're like, that disproves biological evolution. And you're like, those aren't the same thing. But yeah, it's a pretty common arguing point, I think, for a lot of people, and it really stems from ignorance. And so in person, when I've actually encountered that, it kind of ends up with, I think that what I want to do right now is say, I don't know that you necessarily understand where I'm coming from, but I can't actually say I definitely understand where you're coming from. So let's do a trade-off. I'll give you something to look at. If you really want to come back to this, familiarize yourself with some of these terms and some of these ideas, realize that cosmic and biological evolution are 2 different things, and then I will also go ahead and read what you give me, or look at what you give me. I've had that work out in my favor a little bit, to the point where I've had someone go, oh, okay, I mean, yeah, I am having trouble arguing with you, which that's kind of first step, rather than just being like, oh, you're definitely wrong, and then just being totally defensive.
There are some people more willing to listen than others. I mean, we've let people out of young Earth creationism. There's obviously been like Wayne Fillmore, Hunter Bailey. There's been a few others that definitely have questioned things that I know. And I know people that still are young Earth creationists, but they at least admit that like Hovind is a fraud. Again, somebody had accused me of talking behind Hovind's back, and I'm like, no, Hovind knows full well I disagree with him, right? Even though I host his debates, there's no uncertainty that he's unaware of what my channel is and my positions. But he is very happy the way I moderate his debates. I give him equal time and make sure that it's fair. Hey, Godless Engineer.
What up?
Hey, what up, man?
I don't know you, but what's up?
How's it going?
I have not had a chance to watch your latest video with Drew here. I was going to, but I got sidetracked with other things. But we got Drew in here and kind of going over the video that Deflating Atheism made in regards to atheists being arrogant.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch it?
John actually sent me that link. I had already seen it, but he just DM'd me and was like, "Dude, you're legit now." And I was like, "I know,
you're legit." That's so true. The first time you get a YouTube video made, about you, it could be like you could have 3 views. It doesn't matter. You're legit.
Yep. Coming of age. Yep. I'm an official skeptic YouTuber now, I guess.
I remember when Nephilim Free made his first hate video toward me. I was feeling so special. Now it's just ubiquitous. He's got a whole bunch out there. And then Lies of the Devil. Did you watch that one?
Yeah.
Did you watch that one? Oh my God. Go ahead.
How does that law work when it comes to not necessarily a video directly about you, but a video that you're pretty sure is inspired by you and you are directly referenced?
It's close enough, I guess.
You say directly reference, so you're like, do they mention your name or channel or anything in there?
Brett Keane did a video talking shit about bronies, and he described my avatar perfectly. So I'm assuming he was talking about me.
Well, I was kind of mentioned on Drunken Peasants.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, G-Man lied about me on the Drunken Peasants. He just didn't mention me by name. Oh, by the way, John, your phone is shit. You're on an Android, so nobody can hear you unless.
Steve, you almost got the attention of I can't remember his name. TJ.
Almost got his attention. Almost. But hang on, Godless is on an Android, so what happens is if you talk, his voice or his mic gets muted all the way down to nothing. So we're gonna have to wait for him to unmute and then give him airtime. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just worried about feedback.
No, it's not feedback. It's just so if anybody else is talking or a mic is open and there's any background noise, yours gets cut out.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm coming from work. I'm going to pick up my son. So, this right now is my usual getting off of work time.
Well, by the way, congrats again on your 10,000 subscribers.
Oh, yeah. I'm really stoked about having that many.
Yeah, I'll never know what that feels like, but that's okay. I just hit 1,900, and I'm quite happy with that. So,
well, I mean, we all got to start somewhere.
I'll never know that
zero like the rest of you.
Actually, get on my ass and make videos.
I figured 1,900 is higher than 0. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, your live streams get way more people than mine ever have.
Yeah, I think mine probably get more than anybody's besides Red's Rhetorics. Yeah, I'm getting feedback. But Red's Rhetorics, he had 350 people watching his debate with Betty on Flat Earth. Or more. I think it may have hit higher. So.
Oh, God.
Please don't make me flash back to the conversation with Betty.
Yeah, she's out there.
Answers in Genesis did a live video on their Facebook, on Ken Ham's Facebook page today, where they were talking about Flat Earth.
Well, so wait a minute. So to Ken Ham, Flat Earth is even beyond absurd.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. They had their Danny guy on. It's a scientist. His name's Danny something, but they had him. Yeah, Faulkner. They had him on. And he was perfectly explaining, oh, well, this is how we know the Earth is a globe, and these are the different, he was explaining horizon line stuff and everything like that. It's very odd how they could be so coherent and reasonable when they're talking about a flat Earth, but then, at the very beginning of that entire stream, they were like, look, the modern flat Earth movement was created by atheists and libtards back in the 19th century to discredit the Bible.
Yeah, their critical thinking skills are very skewed. They don't apply them equally, right? I mean, and even sometimes when they do, did you guys watch when G-Man tried to go into a flat Earth hangout? I believe it was Rand Campbell's on Flat Out Elected, and explain using quote unquote his experiments just show that the Earth is round, and his experiments were just so bad. I mean, he didn't have a good way to explain why the Earth is round, and so basically, it was like, you know what? Don't become a flat Earth debater, there, G-Man. Stick with like Black Hebrew Israelites, man. It was bad. It was so bad.
Well, I mean, something they taught me as a fundamentalist is you gotta be able to put things in boxes. I mean, like I am in like social work, and so I studied psychology, and yeah, one of the things that you have to be able to do to actually be successful is to be able to put certain things in boxes in your head. Like you can't take the kids' issues home with you, kind of a thing. And you know, so there's a lot of really similar, I guess, cognitive. I would call it cognitive dissonance, but yeah, the compartmentalization definitely, is definitely carrying over from where it can be helpful with compartmentalizing your empathy and your emotions to actually, you know, compartmentalizing your reasoning abilities. And so I was really good at that when I went into college already, because, you know, I was raised as a young earther. So,
but it's still amazing to me that people will say that if you're a flat earther, you know, you're a complete dumbass. But at the same time, the Earth is 7,000 years old. I'm like, really? It seems to me that, you know, if they're willing to understand, or they're able to understand why the Earth is not flat, they should be at least intelligent enough to understand why the Earth isn't 7,000 years old by the same metrics, right? You know, John, are you trying to talk, or is that just feedback?
It might be the feedback. Let me mute.
Can I just add that, you know, they're able to cherry pick out the verses that say that the Earth is held up on 4 columns, and, you know, there's God separates the sky from the land. You know, all these verses that seem to make it indicate that the Earth is flat, as, oh no, that's just, it's a poetic and figurative verse. But then the ones that talk about like the age of the Earth, you know, suddenly have to be literal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand how they can pick and choose. I mean, by what reference do they say, I'm going to decide this is allegorical or metaphorical, and this one is going to be an actual accounting? I don't know how they just choose to. I mean, I'm fine with either way. I mean, I'm fine if somebody says, look, I think that all this is just allegorical. Okay, great. I agree with you. But if somebody says, you know, I accept this on faith, I don't care, right? I'm fine with that, except when the science disproves their faith. When science says, no, the Earth is not flat. We do have flat earthers that come into the Hangout, or, well, not so much come into the Hangouts anymore, but go to the live chat, and they're Christians, and they're like, you know, well, you know, to be a Christian, you got to believe that the Earth is flat because that's what the Bible teaches. Well, I think that the vast majority of Christians would disagree with that, right?
Yeah, and I was going to say, along with what Thomas said, yeah, I mean, everybody knows that Job, where it says that, the verse that says in Job that the earth has corners, and, you know, like God established the cornerstone. It's like, they don't literally mean that. And I mean, a lot of people know that there's a lot of just metaphorical stuff, and it's a beautiful story, and it's probably one of the oldest books in the Bible. And so God had that there to establish that certain things were metaphors and certain things weren't. And yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. The argument I've heard, I mean, at least I heard in my upbringing, for this is just metaphorical and this is literal, is it's like so obvious. Like, this is a command and this is not. Yeah, I mean, that the preacher said that's why. Unfortunately, and I think that even as a teenager, I realized that there probably were better arguments to be made for different interpretations than that. And so I had a little bit of problem with that even when I was a believer, but for the most part, that is what I heard. I mean, there's smarter people than I dealt with for sure out there. But those are the arguments that I've heard. Yeah, it's just so obvious that that's a metaphor. I mean, just duh.
Well, you know, but how you interpret it, I mean, in your video, you had mentioned that, I don't want to say you have autonomy per se, and you're not arguing that you're the final authority on everything, but in some ways you kind of are. I mean, we are our own final authority on certain things. We believe something, and we don't get somebody else to choose it for us, right? And they were actually coming down on you for that. They were actually saying, well, it's arrogant to think that, you know, as an atheist, you are not responsible to anything else, and that you determine what's relative to the universe. Because you were pointing out that, and no offense, but we're all pretty insignificant in the big picture. And I believe that. I mean, unfortunately, in the cosmic scale, which young creationists, I've always said, do not understand scale. We are insignificant to the universe. Yes, gravitational wise, you affect everything in the universe, but minusculely so, right? And you were just pointing that out, and they were attacking you on that.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the points they made here, I mean, as far as the meaning, one of the things I'll say is like, just because I say, yes, I'm the person who determines my own meaning, I'm not saying that no one else's opinion matters or nothing outside of just what I want matters. I think that there are things that I have to consider, or else I'm doing something that is going to be damaging for other people, consequentially. But then it's frustrating to hear, yeah, that they think that atheists think that they're just their own God, or I think that I'm my own God. That's something that I was definitely taught. And yeah, it's not that way. I don't think that I am the ultimate authority. I mean, I'm still subject to the laws of physics. I'm still subject to everything that they believe that they are subject to, if they think that basically science has shown us anything. I just don't think that there is a consciousness out there that determines anything about me. And when I'm talking about cosmic scale, also they bring up why, like a C.S. Lewis point, where they're saying, just because we are physically small, maybe compared to the universe or whatever size we are, why is physical size, why is that relevant? And I get where they're coming from, but that's not the point that I'm making. I'm saying on the scale of all the different consciousnesses, I don't know, plural of conscious.
Conchi. No.
Conchi, yeah.
That's not what it is.
Octopi. So yeah, all of the beings that have existed that have been conscious, they don't give a shit about me, and they never could, because the majority of them are dead at this point. So basically everything that has ever existed that could give a shit mostly does not. And that's really what I'm trying to say. There's no consciousness that actually thinks that I am worth something great, more than, you know, like my wife and my family and my friends. And so that's really what I'm talking about when I'm saying that I am insignificant. It doesn't matter a whole lot to me that the universe is physically large necessarily. It's that anything that does care, most likely, yeah, does not care about me, because I am so small. I am not of ultimate importance. I'm not any more important than they are. So why should I matter anymore?
That's related to your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is rather small, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is my sphere of influence is really small, and that's why I say that just a few of my fellow humans would care. And they say, oh, you know, we would care if you died. And while, you know, keeping that right here, guys, I'm gonna remember that. But still, that's really small on the grand scheme of things, with all the people that have ever existed. I'm glad that people would care, and I think it would be meaningful to plenty of people, but out of everyone that's ever existed, it's nothing.
And one of the things I thought odd for them to say, and I'm going to ask you this question, and I want to ask Thomas as well. They actually had said or insinuated, I don't want to say verbatim, but basically that why would you prefer to be an atheist and believe there was no intelligent agency behind everything, that there's no universal purpose, or that there isn't a bigger picture. And again, I'm an agnostic, but I can speak as if I would an atheist and just say, look at, they're completely different things. I don't choose, if I say I believe that God doesn't exist, that doesn't mean I wouldn't prefer there to be intelligent agency. Somebody can say, look at, I would love there to be a deity and people be held accountable and to be a good force in the universe, but I don't believe any of that. But they're literally were saying in their video that if you're an atheist, you are automatically preferring that there is no God or no intelligent agent. And I don't see how they make that leap there. They're two different things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental misunderstanding, because I say in one of my videos, and this is entirely true, I'll probably talk about it, but when I came out of faith, I was absolutely devastated. I mean, I discovered, or I explored all avenues that I possibly could to try to prove it to myself that there was some kind of cosmic force that had me in mind, because I didn't know how to live, how to function without thinking I have this huge ultimate purpose. And so when you are, and I think, like, indoctrinated with, you have an ultimate purpose, basically, if you ever come out of that, if you have any reason to think, or you can't really get away from thinking that you don't necessarily have a purpose, then you've been taught that you must become a nihilist. You must think that you can't possibly have any joy. And I mean, I think that's horrible. It's abusive to teach kids that if they come out of believing this, they are going to be, basically, they're going to be worth nothing. And it's kind of, I've heard people say, if you're an atheist, you should just kill yourself. And so, I mean, not to get too dark here, but why wouldn't that cross my mind when I've been taught that? And I'm glad that I have a fantastic life now. But yeah, coming out of faith, it gets extremely dark when you've been taught that you should not live, and you could never be happy without this cosmic purpose. So no, I definitely, when I was coming out of it, did not prefer. I mean, I would have definitely preferred for there to be a purpose. And at certain parts, I mean, I probably would have preferred to just not exist anymore. And I think that a lot of fundamentalists probably would agree with me. I actually, that's something if I can ask, it's kind of a personal question I always wondered about with Thomas. I mean, you, especially coming from a missionary family, did you think, wow, I'm like a nihilist now, there's no reason to live after coming out of faith?
Not at all. There was a kind of a phase where I was frustrated, where I was, because I kind of felt like I'd been lied to, and I went through kind of a phase where I was searching for my own purpose. But I like to think of it in terms of, if it's top down, is it really your purpose? Christians say all the time, oh, you can't have a purpose without God. Well, you don't have a purpose with God. God has a purpose, and you're left basically scraping up whatever he plans to dish out for you. That's top down. That's, there's no agency there. There's no, you don't have a say in it. It's like, asking, oh, without God, what will my purpose be? Dan Barker says, well, without a slave master, whose slave will you be? It's the same type of concept. So, people ask, what is, how do you find purpose in life? What is the meaning of life? That's the wrong question. You take out the word "the" and you have, what is meaning in life? Well, what's meaningful to you? What do you, if your dog dies, it probably won't mean a whole lot to me, but it means a whole lot to you. And we find the things that we care about.
That's what they were criticizing him about. And I thought that was it's strange, because I happen to agree with you 1,000% on that. What is meaningful to us may not be meaningful to somebody else, but we control what we find to be meaningful in our lives. And that's the same for a theist or an atheist. I don't see how there's any difference. And as you said, a theist who says, well, my purpose is whatever God wants it to be, well, your purpose is contingent upon what his purpose is.
Not to mention, they say that, oh, you don't have purpose in life, and, your life is so horrible as an atheist. Well, they think that you're so fucked up that you made a God kill himself. So there's that. Yeah,
and I think purpose, I've had people actually say what Drew said, well, why should you kill yourself if you don't believe in a God? Or, well, what's your purpose? Well, we all have things that we find a value in life. For example, the continuation of the species, children. This is the reasons why which we live. And it's like, wait a minute, if you have children and you're telling some parent to go kill themselves because they're an atheist, you're a disgusting human being. You just are. Sorry, you're just a vile, morally bankrupt, immoral person.
I love the quote by Ricky Gervais where they say, it's a common misconception that atheists have, nothing to live for. He's like, it's the opposite. We have nothing to die for. We have everything to live for. Because if this is the only life that we got, then we're going to try to make it the most amazing life that we can.
Make it count, right? Leave something behind, have a legacy, continue.
What we lack is an apocalyptic fetish of some type of death cult or some type of, oh, the world's going to end in some type of doomsday. No, I want the world to... Eventually, we're going to have the heat death of the universe, assuming we can't reverse entropy. But I want to see life expectancy extended. I want to see, meaning and purpose, even if it's subjective to me, even if it's a short-term period, it still means something to me. And I want to just expand that out. I love what Craig Venture's doing, trying to extend human lifespan. I love the stuff that Elon Musk is doing, with exploring space and with Amazon's Blue Origin and all these space exploration projects trying to save the human race. I think that's awesome. Does it have to be eternal for it to have purpose? I don't think so.
Sorry, it's funny you mentioned
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. It's funny you mentioned a little bit about
play audio through my headset so I can play the video for you guys.
So this is
I think it's probably past the point. But I was going to say.
Is this a? Sorry.
Hang on a sec, brother. I was going to say that. Oh, you know what? I totally lost my train of thought now. What was I? I have no idea. What the hell you were just talking about there, Thomas? Refresh my memory.
I was just saying it doesn't have to be eternal for it to be purposeful.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going to go with that. I got interrupted. So whatever. Brojo, what do you just want to say? I'll probably think about 5 days from now.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, is this an open discussion where people can engage?
All my hangouts are open discussions for the most part.
I didn't know if this was kind of like a thing where we were sitting back and listening. Okay.
Damn, sorry it took me so long because now I guess it's too late to play the audio.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we've already kind of hit the highlights. I did take notes when I watched the video because, again, it was just so god-awful.
Real quick then, let me make sure that this works. Give me just a second. Did you guys
I only made it about 5 minutes into the video.
Yeah, I actually had said that I got about 25, 30 minutes or something. I actually even said I can't do this anymore. I wanted to just bang my head against the wall, repeated till I bled to death. But I did suck it up. I got about 10 or 15 more minutes in, and I had enough. I couldn't do it anymore.
Well, I only got a notification for this chat like 20 minutes before it happened, so I got about 5 minutes of watch time on double speed in.
Yeah, no. You know what? I need to figure a better way out to do notifications. The way it's set up, if you do an event, you'll get there's a notification that goes out, and then there's a countdown timer, which always seems to get screwed up. It'll say like, 5 hours, but all of a sudden it says waiting on it. Just for some reason loses that. I don't know why. But we have something like this. I usually give notifications via the Great Debate Community page, which you do get notifications for that, and through Twitter. So, by the way, we have a new website coming out, Thomas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think we're going to make a new wiki. We're definitely going to make a new wiki. So we're going to port everybody's page over.
Can I ask a question to GM Skeptic while we have him?
By all means.
You were at Camp Quest recently, weren't you? Or are you still in that area?
Yeah. I was at Camp Quest. I was Camp Quest, Texas, a couple weeks ago.
How was that experience? And if you've ever been to a Christian church camp, how did it compare?
Oh my God. It was really phenomenal. It was really hard to leave because this sounds weird saying this, but if anyone's as much of a fan as I am, then it maybe will have some kind of emotional resonance with them. But it was kind of like stepping into what society would be like in the future, in like the Star Trek universe, almost like where everyone's basically just like this humanist, not necessarily even a secular humanist, just some type of humanist to where we can have disagreements and we can have healthy debates about it. But everyone still really loves and cares about each other and wants what's best for their fellow human being for the sake of them existing and being just as important as anyone else. And so it was really phenomenal. Also, yeah, I have been to a lot of different like kind of Christian summer camps and like VBS type stuff. There was a dance. This was a very notable thing to me. There was a dance toward the end of the week at Camp Quest. And there are not like really dances at a lot of Christian camps, but there are get-togethers, like parties to where you come with a friend on a date at the end of the week and hang out. And also like when there are swimming parties. At Christian camps, there's often a lot of social stigma. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of guilt there. If you wear the wrong thing, if you look the wrong way, if you move the wrong way around music or something, someone has something to say about that. Whereas at Camp Quest, and I think they'll be okay with me saying this because I've discussed having them in a video already, but my friend Day that I met there, is genderqueer, and they present, I guess, in a way that is just it depends on the day a little bit, but they were in a male cabin, in one of the boys' cabins, and they were also there helping with different, just kind of to provide perspective when we had kids that came because they're LGBT and they weren't accepted at a lot of other camps. But they presented like fairly male throughout all of camp, and then came to the dance in a dress. And I see them walk up and are about to go into the dining hall where we had it, and I'm thinking, this is remarkable in a good way. Like, I would say something about this, encourage Day, like, this is so great, you're being a good example for these kids. And I realized this isn't remarkable for these kids. They realize, yeah, they're people who, there are people who don't have really the same ideas about gender, or don't feel the same way as far as expressing their gender as me. Whatever, what's the problem? And then we had girls coming in like these super nice tuxes, and I was really jealous. And
and they're not treated like the spawn of Satan.
Yeah, they're not treated badly. I mean, there were also girls, like, girls could wear bikinis and boys could wear like slightly shorter swimming trunks, and no one gave a shit. No one went, and none of the 12-year-olds were going and like hooking up because they just saw each other and it was irresistible, and they fell into sin. They were educated about how to conduct themselves well, and they could wear what they want, and it was fine. There were no problems. There's no guilt. There was no shame throughout the entire camp. And so to me, it was hard to come back. I mean, obviously I had to come back. I don't have a home out there, but it was hard to come back from camp and come into a place where if I see someone walking down the street and it seems like, maybe they're trans, it's a good bet that person has heard something about it. Whether it's good or bad, they've heard something. It's such a big deal for you to be trans. It's such a big deal for you to be LGBT, or to be atheist, or to be whatever. And yeah, so it was a good experience to me. It was fantastic.
I did 2 years at a Christian. I was a camp counselor at a Christian camp back in college, and 2 summers. And I remember, there were 2 counselors that got, caught basically kissing in the barn. And like, it just, the blowback and the whiplash from that was insane. And, no one, I don't think, anyone in college would have given a crap if, 2 people are making out, and, anyone in an atheist community would care. But because it was, oh no, what would the kids think? Here's a Christian camp. We're supposed to be this wonderful example. It's like, but I mean, anything that you're talking about, all the gay stuff and the, LGBTQ friendly stuff would be unheard of at the camp I worked at.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it was open to people being able to express their sexuality and gender. And I mean, there were straight people who didn't have to express guilt for being someone who is a sexual being. Like, basically, the camps that I'd been at, if a girl brought a top, and they had to wear a dark t-shirt over it, if we were all swimming, and we didn't swim together either. But if a girl brought a top to wear, if their shirt got wet, it laid over them in such a way, basically they had to admit shame for having boobs, or there was going to be this
was the Christian one,
the Christian camp. Yeah. And so there was shame there, even if there was no one there that was LGBT at the Christian camp, there was still going to be shame. There's going to be guilt over sexuality. And the same, you couldn't necessarily admit that you have a crush on somebody, because then everybody's going to be, watching you and being like, oh, they might sneak off somewhere. They might kiss. And at Camp Quest, it's like, it's normal human behavior. Who cares?
So do I call you genetically, or what do I call you, genetics, or what?
You can call me GM Skeptic, or you can call me Drew. So.
Okay, I'll say Drew is fine. So I guess I'm the only Christian in here, and I was curious. I'm not going to speak too much, but are you under the perspective that being transgendered or which I'm only using that term because that's how you guys identify people, and homosexuality and things like that, are you under the impression that that is a natural state of man and that should be accepted because it's natural, or what?
Well, I mean, not necessarily just because it's natural, but I don't see any kind of negative consequence for it existing in society. Regardless of whether or not it was natural, it wouldn't necessarily make a difference to me if people wanted to express that way or if people wanted to transition. So I think that that's something that really just impacts the individual. It doesn't impact society in a negative way. So I mean, I will say I do think that it's natural, and different gender expression I do believe is natural, and I think that we can see, at least with sexual orientation in nature, it does exist. I mean,
are you fine with, because I when I hear this, I just wonder, why not just go fully out there? Are you okay with pedosexuals as well?
As someone,
no, I'm just curious.
Someone who's like interested in having sexual relationships with kids,
let's say 50 and 10. Yeah, that's a great age, right?
Well, the reason why I have a problem with that is because a 10-year-old isn't actually of the age of reason to be able to give proper consent. And so, and I mean, I deal with kids who have like given consent to be in a sexual relationship with an older person. I'm in social work. I see that all the time. And it damages them. And I think that's evidence that they are not of age to be able to actually consent to that. And when someone is an adult, I think that they can actually give consent. They are of the age of reason to be able to say whether or not they want to be in this certain kind of sexual relationship. And so I think that it is pretty different. An adult can make a decision in a different and more intelligent way than a child can.
Hey,
so your name is Genetically Minded Skeptic?
Real quick. Bro, Joe, what do you mean by natural? Because that kind of affects the answer to the question as well. I kind of want to add I wanted to add that to your original question.
Well, yeah, as a naturalist, I think some of us here think that everything is natural, but
basically, if it's in reality, it's part of nature and therefore is natural, even if you don't like it.
Well, because when I say that, I mean, because a lot of people will say, well, look, this is how they were born. This is how they are to operate. And so that therefore it's all right.
It could also mean, though, something that occurs in nature. I mean, artificial thing. We do have a distinction between like artificial and natural, right? So even though artificial is natural in regards to a natural system of the universe, but we have distinction. So I don't think Brojo's question is that far-fetched. I think what is egregious is the slippery slope argument, right? Because the question related to pedophilia and stuff like that has nothing to do whatsoever with people being gay. It's a relevant non sequitur question.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the thing, right? Like, I view it from the perspective of, okay, it's natural. We see it in nature, because people say that too. We see it in the animal kingdom or whatever. And
what does it matter whether or not it appears in the animal kingdom or not? Glasses, eyewear glasses don't appear in the animal kingdom outside of humans.
I agree. That's my point. My point is, just because we see this happen in creation does not mean that this is how man should be. You would only get that conclusion if you didn't start with Adam and Eve and the fall of man.
Well, what do you mean by how we should be? Yeah, because the only things I'm concerned with are with human well-being. I don't care if it's similar to or not similar to how things are in nature outside of humans.
I'm sorry, ask
the question. By the way, may I say real quick, Drew and Thomas, meet Brojo. Brojo is a long-standing, how should I say it? Oh, I don't want to sound pejorative. Well, he's Brojo.
Oh, you know what? You're in my comments section, aren't you?
No, I don't know what that means.
You're the one that left me those nasty little comments.
No, he hasn't been disrespectful. It's just
he's gotten better in the last couple years.
There's an account that has left probably, I don't know, I hope this isn't exaggerating, but I'd say about 80 comments replying to other people's comments. And
no, that's not me.
Okay.
Well, Brojo had a year-long ban from my Hangouts, literally a year ban. So I think he's hopefully
for
learn.
whatever reason that was fun.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm not. I won't dredge up the past, but I'm just saying that I'm hoping that you've learned a lesson somehow. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you're new to me, and if you posit questions in a respectful way, you're not trying to just embarrass by asking any questions, because I won't do that to you. Then I'm fine, to answer questions while I have the time. So
I talked with
no.
I talked with
Stephen
Brojo recently.
Say that I'm probably the most respectful theist he's ever met, right?
Oh no, I wouldn't agree with that, Brojo.
I talked with Brojo somewhat recently in one of Christian Anarchists after hangouts, and he was okay.
Christian Anarchist is a very respectful Christian.
Yes,
very respectful. Him, General Han Solo, Jade. These are the Christians that I look up to. That I say, hey, look, if I was ever to be a full-on theist, these are the people I would try to emulate.
Fiona's not bad either.
Fiona, yeah, of course, Fiona.
I when I started watching Red's Rhetoric's videos and I met Fiona, I was surprised to see that she was religious. It was like she didn't talk about it at all until I saw her in a hangout with Kent Hovind.
She's got several hangouts on her channel where she talks about it.
Yeah, that was a pitiful hangout too with her and Hovind. Hovind, I thought, kind of didn't want to answer any of the questions, but
okay.
I popped in at the end and repeated myself a couple times, expressing my disappointment. That was a shitty hangout.
I'm just curious, Brojo, because it's been a while since I've talked to you. Actually, have you been watching the Hovind debates with King Crocoduck?
If I really had the time to sit down and watch Ken Hovind for 2 hours, I would, but I really don't have the time to.
Dude, it's summer school. You're in high school. What is taking over the vast majority of your time? Oh, are you graduated now?
I'm not in high school.
Did you drop out? Wait, did you drop out or did you graduate?
I don't have the time to.
You didn't answer the question. I'm curious. I want to know. Come on.
I don't have the time to spend.
What's the vagueness here? Why is he judging my question?
Just let him answer the question.
No, I'm just saying I don't have time to watch debates that Ken Hovind does. And I was I pulled up one of them. I read one of his comments, and the Christians were not too thrilled with some of his responses. So I'm not interested in watching it.
I agree with you. What's funny is I noted the same thing. A lot of the Christians were thought that he was very, very unknowledgeable about physics for somebody who claimed to taught physics for 15 years. And I know that's what's kind of Casey's going for. There's going to be a third debate, by the way. It's on the 21st. There's going to be a trailer on the 21st. The 21st. There's going to be a trailer. Apologia, not to give away too much. Apologia is making a wonderful trailer, about a 2-minute trailer that's going to go on King Crocoduck's channel. It's going to be. I've seen a preview. It's just, he's got talent. Yeah.
Oh yes, he does.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Apologia from.
Jeff Durbin.
Yeah. Apologia is the guy that does ham and eggs videos. He one that debunks Ken Ham's stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody has their little niche. He's found his.
He's a cartoon character at a desk.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask if you've seen it, because like I said, KC has really shown Hovind to be nowhere near the level of education that he pretends to be, right? Just nowhere near.
Yeah, like one comment says, "I just can't do this anymore. This guy seriously needs to know what he's talking about in this issue." And these are Christians commenting this, so it's pretty sad.
I found it really hilarious how every time KC mentioned something that's above 4th grade science, slightly into college, Ken was just like, "Could you explain it for the layman audience?"
Oh, I know. I love that. He's like, "Explain what you mean by that."
Explain it for the viewers, because I'm totally not confused or anything.
I just think it's completely pointless to argue from a non-presuppositional standpoint. I mean, just because we're not going to agree unless we figure out which worldview is the correct worldview to see reality. If we figure out that's the Christian worldview, then you will see that evolution is false. So
I would go by. I would say
is that how it works? Are you sure about that?
I would say the opposite, actually. That I'd say arguing from presuppositionalism is one of the most useless things to do.
No, which isn't.
Well, I think it is useless. Hang on.
Presuppose that you're correct. I mean.
No, it doesn't.
First of all, Gary, your type of presuppositionalism is not what they're referring to. We're talking.
So I said communicate, yes or no.
Yeah, but I kind of tend to agree. I think all presuppositionalism is just a waste. Do we know this guy? No, we don't know this guy.
Presuppositionalist apologetics are my least favorite apologetics. They hit on a couple of my pet peeves.
Like what? Being thoughtful, being educated, being actually self-analytical about one's views. Is that annoying to you?
What, Gary?
I'm saying it being self-analytical about one's views. Is that annoying to you?
I'm honestly struggling to follow what he's saying.
Self-analytical. It's a term. Do you know what analytics are?
Do I know what is?
Analytics.
Analytics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a definition.
You self-analyze yourself. That's what presuppositionalism is about.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of presuppositionalism, but the reality is that with Grojo's presuppositionalism, I mean, do we know this guy, Captain Pitmo?
I don't know. Sorry.
Captain Pitmo, one sec. We got something here I'm not familiar with. So, Captain Pitmo, do you want to type something in the group chat? Let us know who you are.
Might be a new fag.
Well, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but
yeah,
when they don't respond, yeah. Well, I can't be sniped, and my main thing. But here they fixed it, so you can't snipe the owner of the Hangout anymore.
Oh, sweet.
And I've tested it. It seems pretty legit, so I think that problem has been resolved. All right, so should I? Did you want to say something, Captain? I mean, I don't know who you are though.
I mean, he said hi.
I think you've got a header, mate.
If he's going to be in the Hangout, we should probably want to hear his microphone. Otherwise, he'd just be in the live chat.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Another one, but
Captain Pitmo, go ahead and rejoin when your microphone is working.
Yeah. So Steve, I was gonna have. So you know who Scott Oliphant is, right?
No.
Okay, so he's one of the people who's written several works on presuppositionalism. You know, has a few notes. In Van Til's books, and I was trying to have his son Jared Oliphant, who's the director of admissions at Westminster Theological Seminary, come on here and talk to an atheist, but I don't know who I can have him talk to.
I'm sure Thomas would be thrilled to death. I'm sure Drew would be thrilled to death. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that both of them have experienced the joy and wonder of discussing presuppositional apologetics, which I do believe is 99% of it is complete crap and dishonest. I find no use to any of it, to be honest with you. Now, Gary takes a little bit different approach because he does, I think what are you, a Van Til?
St. Anselm.
Okay.
Well, so I like to like Basildon as well.
Yeah, but you do literary criticism and stuff like that. So I think that you're taking a different approach to what presuppositionalism was initially, not what it's been turned into by the Psi 10 clones, right?
No. But okay, but I do have a question here for GM Skeptic, and it's this: are you seriously where you could compare alternative medicine to religious beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that is going to be, it's basically based on unfounded claims, and so yeah, it's unfounded, it's unreasonable. I also compare religion to extremist political ideologies as well.
Well, as Tim Minchin says, what do they call alternative medicine that works? Medicine. Yeah.
The thing about that is, though, just as a little bit of nuance here, when it comes to medicine, we still have to deal with the fact that, at least in the American economy, medicine is corporatized. So some alternative medicine could be said to work, but I'm obviously not talking about like Reiki or crystals or homeopathy. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they don't really.
That just isn't part of regular medical practice.
Yeah, usually when people talk about alternative medicines, that's what they're referring to. Now, when they talk about treatments that, for example, that haven't been really validated to be beneficial, but have no harmful things that they know of, sometimes they do recommend, give it a try, right? But when they say, oh, well, he put a healing crystal underneath your pillow or something, yeah, that's just alternative medicine. That's just bullshit, right?
Speaking of which, I tried the crystals under the pillow with them aligned roughly where the chakras are supposed to be. Didn't work.
I'm not gonna lie. I slept with a book one time under my pillow. See if I would.
Well, I mean, you doubted it. You doubted it.
It
so,
failed.
I mean,
it failed.
It's not going to work if you have any kind of doubt about the crystal not working, because your vibes are going to, the frequency of your body is going to cancel out the frequency that the crystal is going to add to your body, and therefore make it a total just neutral, just null effect. So yeah.
You said
but here's the difference.
I know. I believe in you actually. Wow, you said that so like an authority on that. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, my mom is a naturopath, which.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You just said that so calmly and so articulately. I'm just so proud of you.
See,
So
like,
genetic.
I don't have a problem with, like, for example, like organic food, right? Only because I like the taste of some organic foods, right? I can tell the difference. Organic milk, really good. Organic carrots, really good. But this other stuff where people buy into, like you being, people had asked me, what do you think about GMOs because of your name? I'm assuming that you're fine with them. That kind of stuff I'm fine with. When they say non-natural as being artificial, as being like GMO, is harmful or something, I'm like, what? There's been no research that ever has determined that. In 20, 30 years, we've been doing GMOs.
Yeah, I mean, there's not research that actually. Most people, I'll say, that are anti-GMO are anti-GMO because they think that there's some kind of health effect. They're not talking about monoculture or any kind of risk to the economy. That's not, when people are anti-GMO, that's usually not what they're talking about. They're talking about you eat them, they're frankenfood, they poison you, they have toxins in them, you have to pull them out of your feet with these bullshit detox baths. You know, Monsanto is this big evil corporation, all this kind of stuff. It's like controlling the population. There is no research that suggests that GMOs either are have less nutritional value or have any kind of toxins, whatever you want to call that, in them that have any kind of negative health effect. A lot of the time they actually have a slightly higher nutritional value than I guess just like traditional crops or organic crops. And a lot of the time they take a lot less pesticide as well. So in that way, I'll say that I'm pro GMO. Whether or not there are concerns about having to make sure that you control the way that they could potentially crossbreed, the way that things could end up affecting the economy. Yeah, I mean,
that's a fair criticism. Yeah,
exactly.
I grew up somewhat around that sort of stuff, sort of like, you know, conspiracy theories and you know, anti-Monsanto, that sort of thing, because of my mother. And I agree with her on some things, and I start to agree with her on some other stuff as time goes on, but I agree with her on different stuff, on more nuanced stuff. I've started to understand, the monoculture thing and all the farming practices are what's bad. It's not necessarily the GMOs that are bad, at least as far as I understand the subject.
Right. Because you have to keep the crops separate. But yeah, there's been no study.
You deplete the certain kinds of nutrients in the soil, and you ruin the soil, and it's not a good environment for other crops to be planted, and blah blah blah. And you have to keep throwing in all of this material back into the soil, and it's a lot of waste of money and blah blah blah, stuff like that.
We have really only one butter in the community that's anti-GMO, and that's Grim.
Modified.
I wanted to
go ahead, Bob.
Hello guys. Yeah, I just want to go in. When you're talking organic foods, I read an article not too long ago. I have it on my laptop at home. That there's only one company that's not that is company that checks for actual organic. The rest are, you know, you can pay them off basically. And even if it's organic, they're still allowed to use 3 pesticides on those and still be considered organic. And some of the organic stuff that comes in from outside the country, it's just labeled organic. They have no way of knowing what they're actually putting on those vegetables.
Yeah, I believe that actually, but I prefer stuff when I know it's bought by a local co-op or something like that. You know, which a lot of places have. They just work with a local co-op, and it's basically trucked in from a few miles away almost. Jade used to do a lot work with a lot of that stuff, didn't you, Jade? Didn't you work with co-ops at one time? Yeah, she's AFK.
Oh, long ago, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so
I was wondering, is the Christian guy that was asking me, or the pre-supper guy that was asking me about comparing alternative medicine and religion, is he still here? Or
go ahead,
Joe. I never said anything about that. No, I was gonna actually just ask you: are those Captain? Is that a Captain Marvel poster in the back?
Yeah.
Did you?
Atheists can be cool like that, Brojo.
Yeah, man, it's really shocking.
I figured it was a bunch of
Star
Trek nerds.
Oh no, I'm not. No.
I'm interested in what the question's going to be. I'm wondering what the question is about that.
Oh, I was
hang
just
on one
second.
second. Bob's on a truck, so his mic is kind of light. So can we just? I have to like kind of like segue over to him real quick, and then we'll get back on your questioning, Brojo. But what was your thing there, Bob?
No, it was just silly comment. Nothing big.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead, Brojo. So where were you going with that, bro?
I was gonna ask a really casual question if you saw the new Spider-Man movie that came out.
Okay, yeah.
Don't tell me anything about it. I haven't seen it.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Everyone dies. No, I don't know.
I did. I
I'm
really
down the
liked
Game
it.
Master.
He was. This is the first time they've had a teenage actor play teenage Spider-Man, so I really liked
awesome,
it.
man.
But
I enjoyed it too.
I'm I'm a big advocate of being able to have like friendly conversations with people who don't believe the same way. So I appreciate the casual question, and if you want to keep talking about Spider-Man, I'm totally down.
I just watched Logan the other day. I gotta tell you, that movie was dark.
I don't.
No spoilers.
People,
no spoilers, but I'm telling you right now, it was a fucking dark movie. Good. It was really good.
Logan was as good as everyone said it was, but that's because I'm not really a fan of it. I thought the second Guardians movie.
You didn't like Logan?
No, I thought it was all right. A little bit too long. It felt this length at the end.
I thought it was good. Like I said, I thought it was just very, very much darker than the other movies, to say the least.
Hey, Brojo.
Did you see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
I did.
Oh my God, yeah, that was
really
so
good.
Amazing. It was just it was fantastic. I thought it was hilarious.
Hey, I got a piece out here. I have a live patrons stream coming up, but I just wanted to say, GM Skeptic, it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah,
And,
I appreciate that.
I look forward to seeing your upcoming work.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much.
I would love arranging these kind of meets for everybody.
I
Nice to meet you as
appreciate
well.
that. I think Thomas, that you like tweeted at me or something on literally the day that I like uploaded my first video, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, it had like 9 views, and I think that you just like responded to me on Twitter. So I was excited about that. Thanks for for giving little Mia some encouragement there. And if you're ever in the area, I mean, you're in Tulsa. That's not too far away. I'll buy you dinner.
Cool. What part of, if you don't mind saying it on the
Yeah, I'm in
via Twitter.
Yeah, no, I'm in North Fort Worth. So
and just real quick shout out to anyone in the Missouri area. There's a conference coming up called Gateway to Reason. It's going to have a Seth Andrews, Aaron Raw, Matt Dillahunty, a bunch of speakers. So come check that out. It's the end of the month.
Aaron was in my live chat the other day during a debate that I had yesterday, and I was like, Aaron, I had nothing to do with this, man. Sorry, I'm I was like, no, Aaron, just don't watch this particular one. But
I'm really bad with American geography. What state are you guys talking about?
I'm talking about Texas,
Oh,
and he's talking about Missouri, which is a couple states north.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know roughly where all the states are, but I'm really bad with towns.
Yeah, I found
Really
out
bad.
I found out from G-Man, Texas is over on the West Coast. So
yeah, it is what he said. Texas on the West Coast. But yeah, holy cool. I'll put also your link to your channel in my video description as well. Most people here probably know you by now because we've hawked your channel for a while. But if you haven't gone over to sub to him, go sub to Holy Kool-Aid.
Cool.
Which one is Holy Kool-Aid?
The pretty boy on the
Thomas?
right of my screen. Yeah, waving. Yeah.
Oh, can someone send a link? I'll check out his channel. See what's up.
Yeah, I'll put it. You know what? I'll put it in the video description right now.
All right. Well, I gotta run,
Thanks, buddy.
Take care, guys.
Later.
See you later, Thomas.
I didn't know you guys had. Oh, that's right.
I don't always have something to add, but I really enjoy these hangouts.
I try.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it right now.
I'm having his channel right now. To the video description, you just have to reload in a second here.
I don't think I had to reload when I to see the sub to GMS one, so I don't know.
I think that you do, but if you don't, that's good too. But
it might auto reload after like 10 minutes or something. Though I'll go ahead and reload now and see what's up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always said that, part of the Great Debate community and my channel is arranging for people to meet each other and to talk and have conversations. It's kind of like the meeting place for everybody, right? Everybody has a little niche that they want to pick out on YouTube. I mean, obviously, Holy Kool-Aid is, atheism, and he's a very, very proficient artist at making videos. And so that's his talent. And he doesn't really hold live hangouts very often. If he does, he gets just a few people watching. But I like the fact that everybody can come here and then go watch the channels that they kind of affiliate with and they want to go watch, right?
One of these days, I need to start making videos. It's funny that you guys this hangout happened because, like I told you, Steve, before this hangout, I was working on at least a template for videos, so I could get a couple things kind of consistent and flowing a little bit quicker. But more than likely, I probably will still end up taking years, if at all, before I end up making a video.
Yeah,
too many little things to do for making videos.
On YouTube for a year before I actually made my first video. So,
one of the things that kind of stops me from making videos is I don't feel like I have enough to add. I think the closest thing I have to a niche is talking about spiritualism and spiritard stuff because I had a couple years experience with that when I was around the age of 12.
There's just so many content content creators, and so it is really hard to find a niche
and to feel unique as well, as opposed to a copycat.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody stands on the shoulders of giants, right? I mean, so
yeah.
I mean, GM, you're the new kid on the block, right? I mean, you're every month there's a new kid that comes along. I mean, how long have you been out for? A few months?
Yeah, I've been around for about 3 months or so, and the first 2 months of those, like pretty much exactly. I think actually exactly the day that I had been around 2 months, Hemant Mehta shared one of my videos, and I mean it's the one we're talking about now. And yeah, I had 115 subscribers when he did that.
Nice.
And so it shot up, and yeah, now I'm like a little over 2,000, and so.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah,
you'll be in hangouts with Aaron, and you'll be in hangouts with PZ Myers, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's cool. I'm pretty close to Seth Andrews. I'm really close to Oren. I'm fairly close to Matt Dillahunty. And,
so you don't know, you do know those guys.
Oh,
wait,
yeah,
close?
Yeah, definitely. I know those guys, and so I'm.
Matt Dillahunty owes me $20, by the way.
How do you figure?
You don't remember my video?
Which one?
The one where Matt Dillahunty on the Atheist Experience had put out a challenge that he would give $20 to anybody that could take what Ronnie said. And make something intelligible out of it. And so I made a video where I made something semi-intelligible about it, the best I could possibly do, considering that it was true empiricism that was saying that. And Matt had actually left a comment saying he wasn't sure that I fully met the criteria of what he was saying, but I think I did because he didn't say it had to be like totally accurate, just had to make something useful out of it. He said if nothing came along better, then I could still win. I don't think anybody came along better. It's $20, which I have said. I've actually told Ozzy, when he talks to Matt, hey, I'll take it on trade. If Matt Dillon wants to come in and spend like a half hour of his time or 15 minutes, I don't know what's $20 worth of his time, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever. I'm cool with that. So, because I've never talked to Matt.
Oh, okay.
I know that a bunch of big name YouTubers really hate the community word, but I see a lot of this stuff as being something as more like a loose knit community, and I really enjoy that. There's a lot of people whose content I really enjoy. I wouldn't say look up to, but I do try to take a lot from all of the people whose content I enjoy.
Well, what I'm trying to do in the Great Debate community is, because it's a loose network, I'm trying to tighten it up a little bit. We already have the community forum. We're going to be releasing the webpage, a new webpage on Saturday. It goes live.
Send me a link to that. I don't know if I get a ton of notifications on the GDC, and I don't always look at them. So a private message would be awesome if you could.
Dude, I get like 3 a day.
We've also, I do a lot of different ways of getting the information out there, but we also have the fandom wiki, and we're going to be again pointing that over into a new wiki thing. But I mean, the Great Debate community, I want to be something where no matter where you are in the United States or even possibly the world, they know what the Great Debate community is. It's just I want it to be mean something.
You really want to make a big international community of shit posters who are attempting to not be shit posters.
Well, Pew Review's in charge of that aspect of it. But no, I mean seriously, because on YouTube there is such a eclectic and diverse group. I want it to be a centerpiece. I want it to be, this is the place to go where everybody can find information about the channels in the Great Debate Network. I don't know if you want to be in the Great Debate Network, Drew. It's fine. The Great Debate Network is part of the Great Debate community. It's basically channels where we promote their channels and they promote ours, and it's one big, hey, you know, community, let's promote everybody's channel. And I believe that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if I get 50 new subscribers, I think everybody else should get 50 new subscribers, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, I'm totally new to it. I heard about the whole thing from Godless Engineers 10,000 stream. So yeah, I'd definitely be interested in checking that out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we have, like I said, we have some big names in the community. Holy Kool-Aid is a member of the Great Debate community, obviously. Not so much the network per se, because he has such a big channel, but I mean, King Crocoduck, you know, he's a big name. So
yeah, gotcha. Getting to the debunking video. Did you guys, since most of you guys didn't make it to the end,
I didn't even get a chance to start it. I only just heard about you.
I mean, I think it's definitely worth it to skip around a little bit to hear some of the arguments. But one of the, and I don't think that he would rely on this argument to say anything, but it's worth bringing up that he brought it up. One of the things that Deflating Atheism actually accused me of is thinking that since I have these superhero posters in the background, which they're there because they cost $4 and look nice, and I like superheroes, I mean, they're cool, but he actually said that I have them there, and that I am an atheist, maybe because atheists think that God is just another one of the superheroes that just doesn't exist, and he's just as fanciful and fictional a construct, and there's nothing more to it than to Spider-Man. And I'm like,
we have a name for that kind of argument.
Hang on, let me add something here. The only people who think that humans are gods or like gods or can become gods are the New Age people. I was one of those people, and the belief in human ascension into magical powers is something that retards have, not atheists.
And I said this to Godless Cranium before, because we talked about this a little bit. I get that a ton on my videos, like, oh, you worship that shit in the background. I'm like,
that's just,
it's like they think you have anything in your house, it's there so you can worship it. Like, no, dude, do you not just have a fucking bowl of popcorn on your desk because you want to eat it, not because you're trying to?
Yeah, exactly.
To G-Man, those posters are a little god.
Well, why would you have those posters up there?
Because he likes likes comics, probably.
Well, I have posters on my wall. I'm just curious, you know. From
I actually wanted to have like some sciencey type posters. I wanted to do custom posters, and maybe one that even had my logo like tiny in the corner. Maybe I'll do that at some point. And they were just expensive, and so I didn't want to spend that much money making my first videos. And so I went to like a comic book store and went and looked at the posters that I thought were the coolest, and I got them. And I really like Daredevil. Daredevil is definitely my favorite out of the three.
So what's your favorite comic book movie?
I don't know. You know, it's kind of up in the air. I like the new Spider-Man, but I'm definitely partial to some of the Captain America movies. Like Winter Soldier was really good. I like Civil War, but I have them up there because they look nice. They give me just an interesting background. It's not distracting, but it's colorful, and it gives me like a brand too. You know, if you see this color pattern in the background and you see me, like, you know that it's one of my videos. It's part of branding basically. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing more than that. I like these superheroes. I've actually not read a Captain Marvel comic before, I guess, the entire like MCU like just whole movie franchise started, so I can't say that I'm a super like true fan. But yeah, they look nice. It'd be the same reason why anybody would have one of their guitars or something in the background if they made videos.
You worship a guitar?
Yeah, deflating atheism and G-Man both are in that state of mind where they just will try to come up with any dumb fuck argument in the world, and it's just so nonsensical to any rational human being. Because I don't. Desperate. Well, I think they are desperate. That's true, but I think it's more than that. I think that they don't know what critical thinking actually is. We've seen it too many times with a lot of these people that what we consider to be epistemic norms, as far as what we think and what we think should be a rational way to think or critical thinking, they don't look at things the same way. I mean, I've literally had to ask people, what the fuck are they even trying to say here?
It's because they
I
didn't learn
can't
from
think
the
like
school.
them.
They learned from their church, not their school.
Right, but see, I didn't grow up in that type of environment. I didn't grow up as a young Earth creationist. So, I mean, the first time I was exposed to it wasn't. I did in my high school a little bit, but I mean, I didn't get active until my early 20s, where I was like, this is just so fucking stupid. But I would have to go to like Drew maybe to see, hey, and when you were in that mindset, how should I approach this? How would I approach it like this? Because I can't even think like they do sometimes. It's so mind-boggling and so removed from how I actually think when I look at something, because they do twist things. They twist things tremendously. Look at how many people on the Clown Car Posse side that look at things from such a negative point of view that everything is malicious intent. Everybody's a liar, right? I'm the biggest liar on YouTube. You know?
Well, a
I think that
a
they
lot
have
of them are deceptive. So I don't know how far-fetched that is, but
I don't know. I think that they have a lot of trouble understanding where atheists are actually coming from. I mean, like, I think that's apparent by the way that they tried to like dismantle my point. In that, at the very beginning of the video, they say, you know, he should be considered genetically cloned skeptic. You know, because he's just another skeptic clone. Like he has nothing new to say. And then they go on to say, I think that he was just a nominal whatever he was, because the things that he's saying that he thinks religious believers accept are just so ridiculous. And if he ever accepted them, he must have just been in this way outskirt group, just this tiny minority, or he wasn't really a real Christian, which, you know, that's convenient. And then he said he must have been a nominal whatever he was, and then just discovered atheism on the interwebs. And I'm like, that's incredibly disingenuous. You're positing that as a defense, and you never talked to me other than just you know, tweeting at me when you had that video. I mean, I'll say, I said this in Godless Engineers video. I went on a 4-month media blackout to where, and I literally didn't even know what like atheist meant, when I was like, man, I'm really questioning right now. I don't really know what I think. I was, instead of being like, I'm going to look online and see what people have to say about this, I decided, no, I'm not getting any sources. I know the Bible fairly well. You know, I have read through it actually several dozen times, but that's not what this is about. I'm going to try to make this decision on my own from a point of like solipsism, essentially. And it needs to hold up philosophically, whether or not, you know, there could actually be a divine intelligence. And all that to say, their statement of, I just found it on the interwebs, is just absolutely ridiculous and wrong, and could be totally disproven by them just talking to me.
Well, they're so dismissive. And by the way,
yeah, it's dismissive.
Very dismissive. Neither one of them are young Earth creationist, which is I find to be strange, right? Because I mean, they're condemning you, and you first left young Earth creationism, but you said you were an old Earth for a while. But yeah, this opinion they have that hang on one sec. Yeah, I'll be right back. Go ahead. Continue without me for a minute.
Yeah. I think that there were several times when they say that, you know, they make assumptions about me, that kind of thing. And they say, you know, he must have been like this, and they say multiple times, he must have been in this fringe cult of religions. And it's just,
what was so
ridiculous
about your
that they don't.
I'm back.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. And I was talking about that with my wife just before this. They say, when I'm talking about prayer, like, people believe, most religious people believe that if they speak to their deity, they can potentially, or just some kind of divine entity, like even patron saints, you know, they can intercede on their behalf in certain ways. And I'm saying, thinking that some kind of intelligence above yourself cares about you enough to intercede on your behalf is prideful. And they're like, who believes that? And I'm like, Catholics, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, all form of Christians, maybe Scientologists. Pretty much every religion has a concept of some kind of prayer. Animists have,
do you have
a
a video on your channel about that?
I wouldn't say all Christians. There are a lot who don't.
Which video?
Well, I mean, the one that they're talking about and responding to is Atheism Prideful video. And I purposely use prideful because that's the vernacular of Christian more than, or just maybe a religious person, than and using the word arrogant. And because I mean that was the word that's been used against me, I guess, is prideful, not arrogant, because pride is a sin.
Well, arrogance is a sin as well. But I would say it is definitely. But I guess I'll look at your video.
Yeah, I thought it was odd that they're.
But it's not pride.
About arrogance. I'm sorry. Just don't even touch that with a 20-foot Bible.
They were saying that, well, you're just at the whim of the laws of physics, right? You can't control laws of physics, which, by the way, we can do some control, but we just can't change laws of physics, right? We have a description of them. We don't have a prescriptive way of looking at physics. We have a descriptive way. And I'm like, well, how's that different from a theist? A theist can't change the law of physics. I'm sorry. I guarantee it, no matter how hard they pray, a mountain is not going to move.
So let me ask you,
it's not going to happen.
How have you assessed reality accurately?
I tell you what, Brojo, if you want to have another hangout where we just talk about precept, I am completely down with that. But if I start this line of questioning that
that's not precept.
Hang on.
I'm feeling pretty masochistic.
Hang on. Sorry. I've answered this question a million times. Therefore, I'm at the point where I'd consider it to be a disingenuous question, because you've asked it. It's been answered multitude of times. My answer is not going to change from the last 50,000 times you've asked the question. Now, if you want to play with somebody like Drew, who's new, and have a precept, I will set it up, and I will listen. I will sit back and let somebody else enjoy the wonder that is Brojo. But I find it to be boring and tedious, and my answers have not changed. So you just don't need to be asking me those types of questions. If you want to ask Drew, go nuts, man.
Well, I'll warn you. I'm a pre-supper for evolutionism, so I automatically assume that you believe in evolution and a completely naturalistic universe, and you're not going to be able to convince me because I think that you secretly believe that too. So
it could be Satan telling him that evolution isn't true.
Brojo, you evolved to believe in evolution. It's an evolutionary evolved evolution to evolution.
Yeah, exactly. You're just denying it because you want to have a nicer, more happy existence. I mean, there's a great reason to deny it right there. That you want to have an afterlife. Right? That's why. Sorry.
He's denying reality because of
honestly, Drew, I wish I had
how about
thought
this?
of that.
Why don't we figure out some time, because I wouldn't want to do it on this channel, but where we have a neutral
moderator. No, you can do it on my channel. No, I
moderate
Ken
Hovind
debates. I can be neutral, for God's sake.
Well,
yeah, if you can moderate Ken Hovind versus Casey, I think he can be a good one.
Well, yeah, let's do it on a different channel where we both have time to prepare, because I would actually rather do like video responses, so I can kind of address every point without being cut off
I can understand that. I mean, my only problem potentially with that is, there may be other people watching that could potentially change their minds, but I would say, like I said in the video that we're talking about in this hangout, I am willing to change my mind given evidence. But if someone else isn't going to say, there is some way that I could see your point, then why should I discuss it?
And they actually said, well, I don't believe you on that. I don't believe that atheists will change their minds if given evidence. Well, there might be a few that don't. I've actually had atheists say, well, yeah, if God appeared to me, I still wouldn't believe it. I'm like, that's a little bit asinine, actually. I mean, obviously, I think if God exists, he would have a way to manifest himself to you in a way that you could be certain that's him. I mean, that's something with an all-powerful entity.
And I think that's a smart thing to say.
But, hang on. But hang on. I do think that the vast majority of atheists that I know, if they have a reason to believe there's a God, would believe that's a God, because that would be what comports with reality. And I think that most atheists just want to be rational, logical thinkers, and they want to be truth thinkers. They want to have the truth. And if that truth means that a God exists, then so be it. That's what I get from almost I would say 90% of every atheist I talk to, if not more.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not actually interested in proving the existence of God. If that's what I came on here to do, that would be just a really awful thing to do, you know. But I really rather have you guys come to repentance. So I'm not here to prove that God exists, because I already believe that you guys know that. And so I can prove that God exists, but I would rather spread the gospel and people come to repentance.
Can I add something? Can I add something? Okay, just kind of speaking for myself a little bit here. When it comes to religious beliefs, I try to be the best skeptic TM as I can, and the thing that I see a lot of Christians do and that they don't seem to understand is that each individual belief requires its own justification, and it comes one step at a time. So, for example, if you can demonstrate it, I'd be happy to accept that a God exists. But the thing about that is that it doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to repent or worship or do any of these other things. So
then it's meaningless. No Christian comes on here to do that.
Brojo, if you're going to preach gospels and you want, you know, them atheist heretics to repent, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to go through the proper steps. You can't just skip to the end. Sorry, buddy, there are no cheat codes in intellectual arguments.
Oh no, I agree. I'm not. That's why I'm a presuppositionalist and destroy the worldview. Show you that you have nothing else to stand on, and you come to repentance.
By definition,
that's right.
If you're doing presuppositionalist arguments, you're not showing anything because you're just assuming what you're already believing.
Yes, it's circular.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. That's what I want to say too. Is when you use a presuppositional argument, you're not spreading gospel. You're shutting down arguments and trying to make other people think they're wrong about the way they think.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with spreading the gospel.
One of my biggest pet peeves is people pretending to know more about what's in my head than I do. And sure, people can have useful insights, so it's not like I completely shut people out when they try to give me some kind of life advice, especially parents or family or friends or whatever. But it absolutely annoys the shit out of me when people do the presup thing of you just blah 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 because you want to sin.
I mean, honestly, if you did manage,
let me ask Drew real quick. Drew, since you're an open-minded skeptic, right? If somebody could actually prove to you something, right? No matter what it is, if I say, look, I can prove to you, I can show you that my favorite example people know is 1 equals 0.99 repeating, right? 1 is equal to 0.999 ... If I can show you mathematically, right, which is the proof that that's true, would you say that you'd be interested in that? You would say that you would like to see the proof and then evaluate that proof, correct? Or you can just have a quick phone quake.
GMS, Brojo, and Bob all left.
No, it's a phone quake.
Real
in a second.
All right, real quick. I saw you talking about that subject on the after hangout, the second after hangout with Casey and Kentoven. I'd actually be interested in that because I had little idea exactly what you guys are talking about.
He's back.
What 1 equals 0.9 repeating?
Yeah.
All right,
you guys. I'm only high school level math here. I only just finished my GED in March.
Yeah, hang on. That was called a phone. We call it a phone quake. A phone quake is people that are on Android devices and phones. They all drop out at the same time, and then they go.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm on an iPhone, so.
Yeah. So we call that a phone quake. It happens. It's a bug in Google, but we all know when it happens. So.
But you know, honestly, if you're gonna. I wouldn't come into a debate with the pure purpose of evangelizing, because if you did demonstrate God to me, I would honestly go to Satan.
Well, that's
He's killed far less.
But that's a mesotheist.
Depends on the God.
You still would believe. But hang on, Cyborg, you still believe that he was existing, whether you agree with him or not. At that point,
I would agree that it exists, but then I would become the worst thing compared to that.
That's fine. That's a different argument, though. Let me ask Drew again, though. But Drew, if I say I can prove something to you, you'd be, as a skeptic, you would like to look at the proof, would you not?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you we're talking about just mathematics as just an analogy, then yeah, if you show me that a formula works out, then I'm going to adopt that and I'm going to use it so that I can get. I mean, I'll just use it practically. I'll be pragmatic about it and incorporate that into the way that I go about discerning truth. Sorry, my dog is barking. But yeah, I'll use that to discern truth further. And if something ever challenges that idea again, then I could potentially go back to not accepting that idea. But I would certainly be interested.
Okay, so when somebody says, like, when Brojo or a theist says they can prove God exists, my first knee-jerk reaction is saying, well, look, if you can prove God exists, you'd be the most famous theist of all time. Why would you wait? Why would you waste?
I mean,
Hey,
Steve, that is very.
Hang on, Brojo. I wasn't finished with my statement. Why would you waste time in a hangout if you could actually prove something? I could prove to you 1 = 0.9 repeating. I can prove to you that the square root of 2 is irrational. I can prove to you a couple mathematical things, right? I can prove to you that it's always better to swap in doors in the Monty Hall problem, right? I can do the enumerations and show you. These are proofs.
Monty Hall problem. I need to look that up.
So I gotta go, but like I said, I would like to schedule something maybe with you,
Brojo,
whoever,
you said
on
you
a
could
different. I can.
You can prove. Okay, so in your hangout, I want to clarify this for all to listen to. If you have a hangout with Drew on some other channel, you are saying unequivocally you can prove God's existence ontologically.
Yeah, I can show the necessity for God. I can show the existence of God. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you demonstrate that it's your God and not a different one?
Like I said, Brojo, if you want to have that hangout, I feel like arguing with you after like 4 years of ignoring you. So,
but I will tell you this. Brojo. I'm glad that you came in because you actually. The topic of this hangout was dealing with arrogance, and I think you just demonstrated that Christians such as yourself have far more arrogance than most, if not all, atheists.
Well, here's the thing.
Let me finish. Because if you think you can prove God, you are arrogant.
Thank you, Steve.
It's not just proving God, because once you prove God, you have to prove He's good.
That too. Oh wow,
that's a different
stuff.
Well, I have to say, while I would agree that thinking that because you believe, basically. He's like, I believe this. I mean, maybe it's a straw man. I feel like I'm properly representing this. Maybe I'm not. You can call me out on it if I'm not. He believes this is true. It's very convincing. He has things that he considers proof, and it is so convincing to him that everyone really must accept it. When really he's making up his own mind. He can't make up anybody else's mind or discern what anyone else thinks necessarily. I mean, if you study psychology, it's just a preliminary study of digging into psychology, you realize you can't discern what other people believe necessarily based on you. But I will say that regardless of whether or not I think that is arrogant, I think that at the end of the day, in a way, it makes sense that he is wanting us to come to repentance, because I've been there. I witnessed to some of my friends that were atheists when I was about 16. And I did that out of goodwill. I didn't want to see my fellow human beings in hell, or not literally see, but I didn't want to send them or have them sent to the lake of fire because I cared about them. So I understand that, but I do think that the point of, you need to go ahead and go through the steps. You're going to have to prove to us that a God exists, and you're going to have to demonstrate all your points evidentially. You're going to have to show to me why, for me, I don't think about, I'm suppressing my belief that God exists. You're going to have to explain that to me, and you're going to have to explain why he's good, why I shouldn't follow Satan, all the steps. I mean, it's like Christopher Hitchens said, once you get to a deistic standpoint, you still got all your work ahead of you. So my encouragement to you or advice to you would be to go ahead and go through the steps. And I will acknowledge that regardless of whether we're speaking, I'll acknowledge that I think I can probably accurately say the reason why you were acting, to try to get people to repent is because you care about other human beings. Am I wrong there?
Well, there's a few reasons why I tell people to repent, but like I said, I do have to go. I did stay around longer than I really should have. So, Steve, you can set something up, maybe a month down the road or whenever, maybe 2 weeks now,
we'll figure something
that's
out.
fine. But yeah, and I'll make sure I pick who moderates. You know.
Rojo, before you
it'll probably be Darth Dawkins. So.
Whoa. Dawkins is the moderator? Oh, God.
No, wait. Did you guys just hear this? I have like 60 people watching. We had like 70 or 80 before, but Brojo just literally said that Darth Dawkins, aka Evolution False, aka Darwin's deity, is a more or fairer moderator than I am. This is the reality that he's living in.
I'm just joking.
The most duplicitous, underhanded, dishonest theist I've ever met in my entire life, bar none. And you're thinking that he's an honest moderator. That just tells
the dude I saw scream over people that disagreed with him.
Oh my God!
Please. But
wait, Drew, do you know who Darwin's deity is? Have you heard that name?
I have heard the name. A little bit of the work that you guys were saying sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with him. Definitely not with his character or anything.
Channel dedicated to all his fuck ups, which are
wait, guys, quiet for just a second. Let me see if it works.
No, the soundboard's not working. Yeah, he has there's a soundboard out for him.
Play it through my speakers.
There's a channel called Darwin's Greatest Hits. That this guy is the most unbelievably dumb person I've ever met in my life, as far as psychology, as far as philosophy, as far as theology, as far as evolution. He knows nothing about anything. He just,
of course, he would say that, bro.
Well, Steve, you know I'm gonna leave, but I do want to point out. Last time he challenged you in the hangout, you refused to engage in some of the challenges he put forth. So for him to be the dumbest theist, he sure didn't want to engage in anything.
Darwin's is welcome to come in here anytime he likes. You know how many times Darwin has been in my room? 0. You know why he won't come into my room? Because this is an open level playing field, and he doesn't want to deal with that. He wants to have a controlled mechanism by which he can mute people and boot people and control the flow of conversation. I've known him a lot longer than you. I've engaged with him on Nadia's channel back in the day, endless times. Okay,
he's coming to MK's channel multiple times.
And he was a duplicitous shit.
Brojo.
That is why I don't. Well, hang on. So for the rest of the people listening, that is why I do not engage with him on any other channel. Because he will mod control somebody because he doesn't want to have to listen to anybody that can actually refute him.
Yeah, he was an MK. Excuse me. He's been on MK's channel a couple times. I'm surprised he hasn't been in lately, but
people would love to see Darwin's in my room. And by the way, Drew, you're kind of new to all this, but do I sound like I am intimidated by this guy or anybody else to have a conversation with?
No, I don't have to. I don't think so.
I'm really not. But I have certain concessions. Like, for example, if I've been into your room or somebody's room while I have been mod controlled to death, where I cannot make a point, finish a sentence, explain my position properly, or straw man, I'm done. I don't go into those rooms anymore. And in fact, most people don't. The channels that we used to go into a lot, like True Empiricism and Antonio Fletcher's, they're dead. They're dead channels because they have limited the conversation to only people that agree with them, which is like 5, 6 people, whatever. And they don't have the dialogue. They don't get the 60 to 150 viewers. They get about 3 to 12, right?
Yes. You know, I've actually called out Brojo for being arrogant multiple times on the MK's channel, God's Odds, and oh my God, him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, I put my past aside with Brojo. I've let him back in the community. I've let him back in the hangouts, even though I swore I wouldn't. But he did sound contrite. Not to make a big deal of it, but he was kind of the one that initiated sniping in the Great Debate community. He actually brought it to us and showed people how to do it, which led to a huge chain of events of people getting sniped out of hangouts. And mine was the first hangout that got sniped, and it was by him. So
I can prove God exists. Oh, but give me 2 weeks. I guarantee you only need 2 weeks.
I got 2 things. I know we're running late on these things. I don't know how long Drew has. He's been here for 2.5 hours, but I do have two disagreements, bone to picks, I guess. Well, one, I do find it to be arrogant when somebody says they can prove something ontologically like that, because I understand what you mean. They do think they prove it to themselves. I get that. They believe that they have epistemic certainty in it. I get that, and they think everybody should think the same way. But when you use the word prove to somebody like that, I think that's arrogance, because they know they can't prove it, because if they could, they wouldn't be hanging out in a chat room. The second was, before I forget, I had mentioned to you that I had one thing about your video that I didn't agree with you upon. And it was a minor point, but you had mentioned something about you don't have faith in anything. And I think that as an atheist or people that are skeptics or, in the skeptic community, which I do put myself in, I think we need to take back that word faith. I have no problem with that. I know Aaron hates that word a lot, but I have no problem with the word faith when it's used properly and in context, right? I have faith that somebody's going to do something. I have faith that my wife would be, faithful. I have faith that
science.
But here's the difference between me and somebody who uses faith like in a religious sense. If I'm going to put faith in something, it's going to be tested in some way, like a pilot. He's going to be tested. He's going to have gone through school. I can't put faith in him because the government does,
Yeah, exactly. And that means it's a confidence level. Now, it's not the same the way religious people use the word faith. I get that, right? And I don't want to equivocate the two. But it is fine to say you have faith in something as long as you explain what you mean by having faith. I don't like the epistivist approach, right? Which Bionic Dance kind of came up with that term epistivist, which Aaron loves. I don't think that's really makes sense. In fact, I've actually had atheists tell me they don't have beliefs. And I'm like, well, now you're just crossed into the land of, dumb fuckery to no end. This is why theists will say, "Hey, atheists are stupid." If you're an atheist and you say you don't have beliefs, I'm sorry, but you're just way out in nowhere, and land on that particular claim. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our only disagreement is just on semantics there, on the way
it is
we use
purely
the word
semantic.
faith. Because what I use, I had one of my friends. I don't know if he's watching, but Abel, if you're watching, we talked about this one time.
Listen up, Abel.
So, but yeah, I was talking about that I don't have faith in anything, and he talked about, well, I mean, don't you kind of have faith? And there was another person involved, and so the conversation went for a little while, and they talked about, I mean, like you have faith that your wife loves you, you have faith that the Earth is going to complete another orbit around the sun, you have faith that this chair is going to hold you up, and I was like, no, I don't. I mean, I don't have any faith in that at all. And they're like, why would you say that? And I said, well, is there a reason why I think that this chair is going to hold me up? And they're like, well, maybe. And I'm like, say I've sat in this before. Is there a reason? And they're like, yeah, there's a reason that you would think that. And so I would say, yeah, I've and like somebody chimed in and said this. It's something that I've tested. I think that my wife loves me because it's been demonstrated over and over and over. And in laboratory conditions, I still think that you'd be able to prove that my wife loves me. I mean, she would have to. Hopefully, I hope that she agrees. But yeah, so I don't say faith. I say I have a reasonable assumption.
And I get that, but I don't think there's a problem. I think if you take back some of these words, it loses their sting. Like words like design, right? When I hear somebody says, "Oh, well, things aren't designed in nature," well, that's bullshit. I mean, my hand is designed to grip things. That's what my hand is designed to do. And Darwin actually
designed
showed
by natural selection. Yeah, I can understand that definitely.
Darwin showed that we can have teleonomic design that looks like teleological things, that some intelligence did it, but it's still by design. And if we take these words back, it loses the luster that the other side has by using them. Oh, well, you guys don't believe that the things are designed. Well, yeah, I actually do. Why don't you ask me about it? And I can explain to you what I mean by teleonomic design, right? Or you don't have faith in anything.
I'd actually like you to explain that. That sounds interesting.
I can understand that for sure. I think that's a really interesting point. I heard something like that be brought up in like a political way. I don't know if you guys have ever heard or watched the channel Concordance.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've heard of him and Aaron Ross mentioned it.
Oh yeah, Concordance has been around a very long time.
I absolutely love Concordance. I wish that he put out way more content. He's definitely one of my favorite channels, even though I've only been subscribed for like maybe 2 videos that he's put out. But,
I've only recently met his channel.
I got to tell you that we do have people in our community that probably are just as knowledgeable as he is on biological topics. But yeah, he is very, very amazing. I mean, what is your field? I mean, do you study you said psychology, but do you study biology at all?
I wouldn't say that I'm any kind of expert. I have too much like specialized education in biology. I mean, I took a biology class in college, but it was actually it was an old Earth creationist teaching the class, and so we actually didn't learn about evolution, which I thought was really weird, even though I wasn't old Earth creationist because I went to a Christian school. But I mean, what I've studied has been on my own. I will say that I have a little bit of a postgraduate, not like PhD or full master's or anything, but I definitely have some education in, I guess, statistics and research methods. And I've been able to use my understanding of the way that scientific research is actually conducted into getting into the actual core studies. You know, I don't necessarily have to read secondhand accounts of a new discovery necessarily, because I've taken the time, and also my education lends to me being able to dig into the original journal articles and see whether or not, you know, they have validity based on what controls they use, what the experiment design was, all that kind of thing. And so I don't have any specialized education in biology, just psychology, and I mean in counseling, social work, that kind of thing. But I like to think that I have a good basis for being able to understand it further at the very least.
Well, yeah, I definitely
want to give you a little bit of. I want to give you a little bit of
though.
praise for that, because that's even more than what I can do. Sometimes I just feel too ADHD and distracted to kind of really be able to sit down and read research paper after research paper. I can barely read a lot of the stuff depending on the subject. I have some ability to look at, you know, controls and criticize and know that, you know, 5 people is too small of a control study for a psychology experiment, that sort of thing. But a lot of the stuff just kind of over my head.
It's tedious as hell, for sure.
I definitely think it's notable to everybody who's listening that, you know, you've had some kind of science background. You can always tell when somebody has a science background, whether they're an expert or a layperson, they have had, you know, a couple college courses or just read some books. You can tell when somebody has a foundation of some kind of science. And you also tell when somebody doesn't. For example, like Brojo and Darwin's, they have no scientific background. Their understanding of science is horrific. Matter of fact, was it Darwin's? Or was it, no, it was True Empiricism. He was talking about sample sizes, and he actually had said that the only way you could determine if what all scientists, you know, what they believe as far as the amount that accept evolutionary biology is to poll every single one of them. And it's like, no, you could take a sample size, depending on how many you have. There's different methods to do sample sizing. But we figured that you don't need about 2,000 some odd people to poll to get a pretty accurate representation of the scientists that actually accept evolutionary biology, right?
I mean,
he doesn't understand how that works.
Even then, when you are doing statistical research, you have a margin of error, basically. You have to calculate that. You have to publish it. You have to conduct these studies with, I mean, it's not really typically accepted to have a p-value, basically, of below 5%. So, you know,
p-value 0.05 is pretty standard for p-values, right? 0.05.
Yeah, 0.05 is definitely. I mean, and there's 0.01 with some studies, but yeah. So basically, p-value is your calculated assessment of what your margin of error could potentially be. So it's saying that you're basically calculating. You get these statistics, and you get this certain result to see if it's statistically significant, and then you have to determine whether or not, like, how big the chance was that this sample that you used could be misrepresenting what the general population actually is. And so there's a lot of,
you calculate that. I get the concept. I just don't know how you put that to a numeric value.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's actually basic statistics that a lot of people are completely unaware of. A lot of people take like business statistics, that kind of thing, and I took statistics and research methods. So it is very basic stuff as far as the math goes. It's actually really easy to do by hand.
Oh my God! Please teach me something.
Well, you have your p-value in alpha. You have and you try to avoid type 1 and type 2 errors. But basically, all it is, if you can get to the p-value, you're basically saying, okay, there's a significant chance that there's something to this. There's more than just, you know, random chance or whatever. There's something that stands out to say you can reject the null hypothesis in a nutshell.
It's really cool. So I mean, I say that not to say that you don't know something that's basic. I mean, I'm saying that I know something that is basic, and it's no compliment to me that I necessarily know that, because you could go out really easily and read about that. I mean, literally look up p-values. I would recommend that you watch.
I'm already Googling calculating p-value.
I recommend that you look up a channel called Healthcare Triage. They have a series about experimental design, and they're talking about in the medical field, but they do hit on a lot of concepts that are going to be very important for you to understand in concurrence with the math as you're learning it. But it can be really tedious stuff when you're learning it. But I mean, once you actually have that understanding, you can go and look at the stuff that's way above your pay grade as far as you couldn't pull off the study. But you can look at the math, and the math is usually so basic that a layperson with this education could tell whether or not these calculations are valid. So it's fascinating. So I definitely
I'd love to
encourage
have
you to look
those
that up.
tools, so that way I can
Yeah.
feel less like a shitty layman.
And also it
And it'll give
helps
me advantage when I go into college.
Definitely. It helps me make political decisions too, because I personally am someone who I don't think that there should be drug testing necessarily for, at this moment in time, I don't think there should be drug testing for people who are on welfare. And the only reason why, I mean, that seems counterintuitive, but the reason why is because you can actually look at what the studies have shown. And basically, statistics tell you that when drug tests are done, there are and I mean not even necessarily people are announcing, oh, we're going to come and drug test you. When it is done, even if people aren't aware that it's going to happen, there is so little welfare fraud that it's actually much, like by I don't know if I'd say necessarily a factor of 10, but by a ton, a huge figure, very significant as far as money goes. It's way more expensive to drug test all like people who are going to be on welfare than it is to look at other metrics and determine whether or not people should be on welfare. So intuitively, I'm like, yeah, people who are tested and are shown to be on drugs, they don't deserve welfare. They don't need to be on welfare. They need to be.
I'd love to see the data for that.
Yeah, it's probably not cost effective. Also, the amount of false positives have to be accounted for.
Yes, exactly. And so you should. That's something that you should look up, because I was totally on the other end of. I was on the other side of the fence, which I think is pretty reasonable. If you don't know about the studies, then why would you think that someone? I mean, maybe you can make a case for it from an empathic type standpoint, but why should someone get welfare when they're not necessarily being socially responsible?
There's a lot of counterintuitive things like that. Like, I mean, like for example, like back in the day when they were putting up carpool lanes, they've actually, out of all these decades of research, found out that the carpool lanes actually added to smog because they're you know, it made more congestive to the other lanes, overall creating a net to the smog. So it was a good idea at the time, they thought, but it didn't work. And so it ended up being a bad idea. Right, but you would think intuitively, hey, let's put some carpool lanes in, but no, it's counterintuitive. It actually has a negative effect.
Yeah, so it's just fascinating once you actually get the boring stuff out of the way, as far as just learning the basics of the math. And yes, and going in to college with an understanding of that will be a total game changer for you. That's something that,
especially considering I might end up taking a math placement test relatively soon.
Yeah, it's something that could even help you in writing classes too, because you'll know how to effectively determine sources. So you don't have to Google and be like, oh, I hope that this source is reputable, or, you know, this is a fairly reputable news source or something that I'm pulling from.
I would definitely love to know that too. I really don't like being this much of a layman.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're thinking about these things when you are around high school age or just before college, you're doing better than me. So you definitely have you know, good things ahead of you if you can.
Yeah,
if you can
you got a few years ahead of me too. So
I wasn't I loved science all my life. I loved particle physics in like 7th and 8th, 9th, 10th grade. I mean, I loved reading about it. I didn't understand the math, right? I didn't understand the physics, but I loved the concepts. I loved reading about black holes and everything, right? But I wasn't really that good at math. I had geometry. I had algebra. But when I went to nuke school, you don't know, Drew, I was a naval nuclear propulsion operator with the Navy, so I used to train people to operate nuclear power plants. So we had to take a lot of math, and it was the way the curriculum is you have to learn it. There is no not learning. There is no not studying. You're there 12 to 16 hours a day studying. Okay, it's the most intensive program in the entire world. It really is. And so you have to learn it. And because I didn't go in with a strong background, I was already at a disadvantage. And it for the first, even just going through A school, I was like, fuck, you know, we're at that point, A school was just dealing with like algebra 2 level pre-calc stuff. But once you get a nuke school and you're doing calculus based stuff, I'm like, holy shit, I'm out of my depths. But I had to learn it. And I tell you, it would have been a hell of a lot easier. And I did graduate, but it would have been a hell of a lot easier had I had the basics down prior to going in, right? So I could tell you, learn algebra, learn exponents, learn the fundamentals. God, because once you get those down, which by the way I've long since forgotten, but it's a hell of a lot easier to manipulate problems and understand. Okay, this is how I actually solve this or evaluate an expression, right?
Definitely. But with that, man, I wish I didn't have to go, but I am out of time here.
Yeah, I know we're definitely running late and people are dropping off. We only have 64 viewers left. No, that's pretty good, actually. Pretty good, actually.
That's not bad.
No,
but hey, so who's the kid that I'm talking to here? That's
I'm Anase.
Okay. Yeah, if you wanna message me or anything like that, like, you know, if you're interested in talking more about it.
I already have a message into the the little Hangout window. When you join a Hangout, you'll get added to the Hangout chat itself. I have a message in there. I linked to Darwin's Greatest Hits per the request of one of the mods. So you should be able to go to my profile from there and message me or add me, and then you'll be able to get me those resources. If you could send those to me, you'd really help my ass out.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be definitely happy to.
Thanks.
And then honestly, I did a video real quick before we go, Drew. I did a video a long time ago on why 1 = 0.9 are repeating. It was pretty crappy. I'll have a hangout on it, and we'll do some math stuff, Anasi, and I'll show you using algebra, calculus, and many different ways why that's actually a true statement, and some other stuff with some math people we know. How's that sound? Okay.
That sounds really damn cool.
Okay. Well, anyways, Drew, I wanted to thank you for coming in. This was awesome. This is kind of a meet and greet. I didn't really know much about you, except that one time I talked to you in Godless Engineer stuff. But when I saw Deflating Atheism's video, I was like, oh, shit, this is just ridiculous. And so I figured this would give you a forum for you to come in that's much bigger than his forum, because this will get at least 1,000, 2,000 views when it's done, if not more. And then you can have the opportunity to actually address the things, because I don't think he gave you the opportunity, and I think that he should have. I think he should have came to you and said, hey, you know what? Let's talk about this. I don't know why he didn't.
Well, I mean, we're in the era of response videos, you know, and so I get that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be nice.
You're more charitable than I am. You're a nice guy, man. You're a nice guy.
I try to be charitable because I was that, I'll say, deluded at one point, and people were nice enough to me to where I was able to, you know, realize even if I am an atheist, I'm not going to be surrounded by douchebags.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. You know what? No matter who you are, don't be surrounded by douchebags. That's a good takeaway from this. But like all my hangouts, I do give one person the last word. It's not usually the guest, because they usually talk a lot. So Hiller, you haven't talked that much. I'm going to give you the last word and take us out. What you got for us, Hiller?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, as it's sad that Brojo got to leave right at the end there, I was kind of hoping to say one last thing to him, is that when I first became an atheist, like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, I got really into, you know, the whole, you know, people challenging me about it type thing. And I want to get back into that.
Your microphone's cutting out.
Breaking up. Well, that was loud.
So
yeah, that was your mic is shot, Hiller. All right, well, that, guys, we're gonna have to end it because I know Drew's got to go. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to Holy Kool-Aid's channel, subscribe to my channel. Well, all you guys watching now already are, anyways. But leave some comments. Comments help actually raise the rank of the videos as well. Good, bad, or indifferent. I love comments. And leave some comments to Drew here. So go to his channel. Genetically Modified Skeptic, and leave some comments for him. Say, you know what, welcome to the community. And with that, guys, I will see you guys tomorrow, which is going to be a debate with Bill Ludlow and Ket Hovind at, I believe, 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow, but may want to check on that. So anyways, good night.